Chapter 1185. Hearing Xiaobei's scolding, Gong Sun Moyu pressed his chin against his chest. He stared at his shoes and didn't dare to move at all. Tell me yourself, how much time did you waste? Look at your uncles and brothers and sisters. Look at what they are wearing. When we came here, we couldn't see the smoke with our binoculars. They didn't eat breakfast. Look at the road under your feet. I'm so tired from walking here. As a county deputy, you spent a year and a half and still couldn't help the people of Zhong County get out of the situation. Are you worthy of their trust? Are you worthy of the people who sent you off by the Luoshui River? How dare you wear the Jinja symbol on your chest? The more Xiaobei spoke, the angrier she got. She pointed at the ground and then pointed at the faces of the people around them. Gong Sun Moyu looked back and forth with Xiaobei's words. He nodded fiercely. I didn't do well. I was too selfish. I let the people down. I deserve to die. Wait a minute, I don't understand. When Gong Sun Moyu admitted his guilt, the old man who had been standing beside them for a while spoke. At the same time, the old man took 2 steps forward and reached out to touch Xiaobei's head. He said, Girl, where are Xiaobao and Cuckoo? Oh, brother and sister went to Idyll Prefecture. We heard from Idyll Provincial Governor and that there is a very powerful official in Wenshan County, so we came here. Xiaobei raised her head and said. The old man nodded. Xiaobao and Huan are indeed busy. I heard that they are here to fight a war. Lass, County Deputy County Magistrate Gong Sun is actually doing very well. All of you also said that he is very good. Why are you scolding him when you are here? The days in the county are getting better and better. Xiaobei shook her head and said, Uncle, it's not like that. You don't know. How can I not know? It's not easy for Gong Sun County Deputy. When he first came here, there were always people who made trouble for him. He spent 2 months to suppress the people who took the position but didn't do anything. It took him another year to make the lives of the people in the county better. The old man continued to plead for Gong Sun Moyu. Xiaobei continued to shake his head. Uncle, you really don't know. Jinja's academy is different from other places. Other academies teach students all kinds of books, and it's not easy to enter. It was very easy for Jianjia to enter the school. Anyone could come regardless of whether they were from an aristocratic family or from a poor family. However, it was difficult for them to graduate. The knowledge in the books was only the foundation. After graduation, they had to pass the administrative exam. Among them, it involved the local economic construction, as well as the game under different political environments. For example, the situation that Gong Sun Moyu encountered was very normal. It was very easy for a county deputy to suppress the registrar and county magistrate in the academy. A county magistrate like Wang Chang isn't worth mentioning at all. You heard him answer the question just now. It's not that I'm looking down on him, but any random person from Jinja Academy who can't graduate can deal with him like a child's play. An uproar broke out in the surroundings again. Everyone looked at Wang Chang with different gazes. Wang Chang's face was so red that it was about to bleed. Yes, he didn't beat Gong Sun Moyu, but he shouldn't say it in front of so many people. He was a county magistrate after all. Couldn't he give him some face? It was just a matter of nodding his head to kill someone. Was it necessary to slap his face in front of him? The old man who stood out looked at the sky and pondered for a while. He said, I understand. Jinja Academy is very powerful. Gong Sun is already very powerful. Anyway, he's just a county deputy. It's not easy for him to make many decisions. Uncle, let me tell you this. Not to mention that he's just a county deputy, he's just an ordinary official. As long as he's from Jinja, He has to complete his political ideas in various struggles with his superiors, colleagues, and subordinates. To put it simply, when he first arrived, there were a total of 100 people, including him. 99 people did not like him and bullied him. He had to fight against the 99 people while making the local people rich. If he did not have this ability, he could forget about graduating. No matter what methods he used, he had to fulfill his political demands. Otherwise, he would not be able to graduate. There are many people waiting to graduate in the academy. They're all smart people. They're definitely not ordinary people. That's why we're not satisfied. Xiao Bei revealed the background of the academy. Hearing this, the county magistrate Wang Cheng blushed with shame. It was so insidious to talk about seizing and cheating. Gong Sun Moyu quickly echoed, yes, yes. My opponents before graduation are other people in the academy. They're also waiting to graduate. Some of them haven't graduated for 10 years. It's very difficult to suppress them and get things done at the same time. Whether they're willing or not, it's very difficult to get their approval. Compared to them, County Magistrate Wang Cheng and Wang Cheng are really like children. Our graduation exam is to find a real county and then send people to discuss with the county officials. We're their staff. They'll do whatever we say. At that time, I chose Qingxian, Hunan Province's Izhou Province. At that time, I was only at Songchao. At that time, that Songchao was very obedient. He did whatever I said. Now, he has become a county magistrate. You can go to Qingxian now and you will know. Let's put it this way. Until the end, when I finished the basic construction of the county as a granary, I never stopped fighting. Back then, when those people fought with me, they didn't dare to sacrifice the lives of their people, but they used almost all of their methods. Of course, they didn't dare to kidnap the interests of the people. Otherwise, the main family, that is, the Zhang family and Wang family of Sanshui, would deal with him. Not to mention letting him graduate, they might even kill him directly. Even if he's a relative of the emperor, it's useless. Gong Sun Moyu's words deeply agitated County Magistrate Wang again. He squatted on the ground and pulled his hair with both hands. Do you fucking look down on me so much? Didn't I cooperate with you very much? You asked me to stamp, I stamped. You asked me to issue an announcement, I issued an announcement. What else do you want? The local people once again looked at the reed symbol on Gong Sun Moyu's left chest. At the same time, they understood how important this symbol was. Jian Jia really lived up to her reputation. She actually had to play like this to graduate. It was scary just hearing about it. The old man who asked the question also looked at Gong Sun Moyu from head to toe. Then he nodded and said, "It's not easy, it's not easy. Look at our Gong Sun kid." What, girl, even so, Gong Sun kid is doing very well. What's so good about it? Why don't you understand? To reach this level, he doesn't need a year and a half. 1 year is enough. It's all a ready-made model. It's nothing more than adapting to local conditions and then developing. My brother and sister have summed up more than 100 models. It's not a problem to use them flexibly. And Jianjia graduates don't become a motherless child after graduation. If he encounters any problems, he can ask the academy for help. The academy will immediately set up a special team to support him. He can also mobilize a lot of economic and information resources. Now you know who's behind Gong Sun Moyu. According to my brother, at this moment, he's not fighting alone. If he really encounters a strong opponent that the academy can't solve, the academy will send a request for help to the retired grandpas of the imperial court who are idling at home. If the old grandpas also encounter problems, such as the economic experts like the Tokyo Zero in the beginning, or Fengqiao and Yamamoto in Japan, the information will be directly passed to my brother and sister. Uncle, tell me, isn't such support enough? Behind Gongsun Moyu are the students and teachers of the academy, countless high-ranking officials of the imperial court, and the family power of the Zhang family and Wang family. Under such circumstances, he actually spent a year and a half to do something for the county. What do you think he did? While speaking, Xiaobei's finger was already pointing at Gongsun Moyu. It was a very impolite and disrespectful gesture. But Gongsun Moyu didn't dare to dodge. He pursed his lips, as if he was about to cry. The surrounding people didn't make any noise. Instead, they even controlled their breathing. The scene was quiet for a while. But their hearts were not calm at all. Some were shocked, some were happy, and some were moved. It turned out that the imperial court didn't just send an official from Jinja, but an unimaginably large group. It was a reassuring guarantee. The local situation wasn't important. What was important was that Gongsun Moyu, the person from Jinja Academy, had come. After a while, the old man said to Gongsun Moyu, "Gongsun, what's going on? We don't blame you. In our opinion, you've done very well. We were afraid that you couldn't satisfy the academy. Actually, it's also our fault. If we had known that you were from Jinja, we would have definitely helped you push the county magistrate and registrar down on the day you took office. Our Wenshan County is different from the counties near the capital. If we say that someone can't do it, that person has to go down. Even if the emperor says so, it's the same unless he sends troops to destroy us. In the past, our officials were all chosen by ourselves. Later, the imperial court, or more accurately, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, settled the Tubo and Tujue. Only then did we allow the imperial court to send officials. When County Magistrate Wang Chong came, we thought that he was good. Our days were better than before. Until you came, we realized that Wang Chong was really useless. We're not afraid of not knowing what's good, but we're afraid of comparing. Tell us properly. If you really can't do it, we'll be your guarantor." The old man's words were true, and the people around him echoed. What they meant was that although what he did was not good in the academy's eyes, they approved of him. He had done very well. The main problem was that the academy's requirements were too high. Gongsun Moyu's tears finally fell. He wiped them with his sleeve and replied, "No, it's my fault. I didn't use the academy's resources. I wanted to do things with my own ability. I didn't want to rely on the academy, so I did a lot of the coordination myself. Take the century eggs for example. It's not difficult to produce century eggs. I learned in the academy that the difficult part is selling them. I personally went to Chengdu to sell them. Each trip took a long time. Also, I followed every sale because I was afraid that you would be cheated. To be honest, there was no need to go through so much trouble. I just sent a telegram to the telegraph office in Maozhou. There are people who graduated from the academy in Chengdu. They would help to collect information and contact the sales channels. Then I would arrange for you to go there. They would receive you there. I could spare some time to do more things for the county. But I didn't do it. To be honest, even if I didn't make century eggs, I could sell them easily if I made salted duck eggs. For example, if I went to the candy house and sold salted duck eggs to them, they wouldn't give a low price. Half a salted duck egg every day is good for the children's health. I'm going to die of anger. Gongsun Moyu, you make me even angrier than County Magistrate Wang. Let me ask you, do you know what is called Jianjiao? Xiao Bei covered his chest with one hand and asked while panting. It's reeds. Gongsun Moyu answered. Xiao Hai interrupted, it's good that you know. There are many students in Jinjia. They are all reeds. Reeds are not as beautiful as flowers. Reeds are not as strong as trees. Reeds are not as effective as ginseng. Reeds are not as tasty as cucumbers. Reeds can't even be compared to those branches that can only be burned as firewood. But why did the academy name it Jinjia? Because Jinjia grew among the clouds. Because one could see people in the depths of Jinjia. A single reed is nothing. Only continuous reeds can make a pond. When there are many reeds, one can make all kinds of things. Others say that we are smart. What are we smart for? We are 9 people, each with their own strengths. We are all like you. We have to show off. If we are separated, the Tang patrol will be useless. Even so, we have many problems that we can't solve. We have to ask our brothers and sisters for help. Why? It's not that we are humbly asking for help. It's that we are afraid of doing things that will hinder others. We can't refuse to ask our brothers and sisters for help because of our little thoughts. That will hurt many people. This is called responsibility. Do you know how to write the word responsibility? Do you know? When you become the deputy county magistrate, you don't just represent yourself. You also have to be responsible for the 3,334 people in the county. You also have to be responsible for the 98 unborn children. There are 22 villages in the county and 479 households are counting on you. The tax of 6,462 strings of coins and 103 coins is not worth showing off. The monthly production of 120,499 duck eggs is not your capital. It's just a number. If the 9 of us held power in Winshan County, do you believe that we can do better than you? Give us a year and we can remember everyone's name. We can understand every inch of land because we have the talent. Yes, every child is a genius. The 9 of us are the same. But I dare say that we only need 8 months to reach your current level. In a year, we can surpass you by several times. It's not that we are capable, but that we know how to use resources. You don't use the resources and insist on showing yourself. You have angered me. Gong Sun Moyu looked at Xiao Hai in shock. He made a sound of agreement and then stopped talking. After all, it was useless to explain. The others were also shocked. Gong Sun Moyu had only said it once. They didn't expect him to remember it. He even said it so accurately that even the unborn children were included. The old man who asked didn't continue to defend Gong Sun Moyu. The truth was that Gong Sun Moyu didn't use any resources and wanted to do something for himself. Then, he wasted time. Although it was amazing that he could reach this level in a year, this wasn't everything. If Gong Sun Moyu wanted to, he could do even better. Gong Sun, you can't think about doing things for yourself in the future. You came from Jinjia, how can you escape from Jinjia? You said that you don't use resources, but what you learned in Jinjia is already resources. Yes, I'll change, I'll definitely change. Compared to my fellow villagers, I know, I'm just a reed. Only in the depths of the reeds can one see his beloved. Little young master, little miss, please give me one more chance. Gong Sun Moyu said to the surrounding people, and then nervously faced Xiao Bei. Don't make it sound so pitiful. I can't kill you. If I want to kill someone, I have to kill Wang Chong first. At least you have done a lot for the county. Don't you think so, County Magistrate Wang? Xiao Bei turned to look at Wang Chong. Don't kill me, my family has. There is an 80-year-old mother and a child crying piteously for food. I know, I will investigate later to see if you have embezzled a lot of money or bullied the people. We will talk about it when the time comes. County Magistrate Gongsun, tell us about the future development plan of this county. We can't stay here for a long time. Tell us, we will help you think about it. Xiaobei glanced at Wang Chang and said to Gongsun Moyu. Plan. The plan has to be changed. Originally, I didn't want to trouble others. Now that I want to use resources, I have to change it. Gongsun Moyu hesitated and said. Chapter 1186. A gust of wind blew and Xiaobei shivered. He looked at the mud wall in front of him through the gaps in the crowd and said, Let's go in first. It's windy outside. Last night, the tent was so noisy. I didn't sleep well. The girl must have been tired, said the old man who had walked over with a pained expression. It's not me, it's the rest of the team. Go in and arrange a place for them to sleep. Let's go. Xiaobei led the way. With Gongsun Moyu by his side, Wang Chang's position as county magistrate could not be reflected. He could only follow a few steps behind, afraid and aggrieved. Hearing Xiaobei's words, he turned his head and muttered, Didn't they say that the Zhang family and Wang family servants and guards are the best in the Great Tang? Won't the wind tire them out? What are you talking about? I hate it when people talk behind my back. So what if they're elites? Elites are still people. Normally, they don't need to be so fatigue-resistant. Or are you trying to tell us that in Wenshan County, our people need to maintain the same vigilance? Are you worried about yourself or the people in the county? Xiaobei turned around and asked Wang Chang. Before Wang Chang could explain, the surrounding locals glared at him angrily. It looked like they wanted to tear him apart. An older woman with wrinkles on her face held a wooden staff and knocked it on the ground twice. She looked at Wang Chang and said hatefully, Useless thing, you can't be a county magistrate. You don't know how to speak. The bad guys don't know that Xiaobei and the others are rushing over. Who in the county can harm them? If someone dares to do something bad, we'll find them even if we have to dig 3 feet into the ground, just like Xuanyang. Hearing the old woman's words, it was clear what she was talking about. A group of young people had almost been blown up by a gunpowder boat in Xuanyang by the Yangtze River. Looking at the situation, the speed at which this news spread was extremely fast. Even the remote mountains knew about it. Wang Chang opened his mouth but did not say a word. Afraid of being attacked, he lowered his head and continued to feel wronged. Xiaobei sighed, shook his head, and walked forward. He knew that Wang Chang was depressed. Not all local officials were as capable as Gongsun Moyu. Their abilities were limited, and most of them were just maintaining the status quo. This was especially true for people in remote areas. If they couldn't come up with a short-term plan to get rich, others would reject them. As long as he could let the locals continue to live without rebelling, he would be a good official for the imperial court. As for making the local people rich, that was something that only capable officials could do. Logically speaking, Wang Chang, the county magistrate, was not in the wrong. Unless he was found to be corrupt, accepting bribes, abusing his power for personal gain, or bullying the people, even if he used the money in the wrong place or did something wrong out of kindness, he could not be punished. Of course, if he really did break the other rules, even if he was greedy for 100 copper coins, it would still be a heavy crime. Thinking about this, Xiaobei looked at Gongsun Moyu who was following him. He thought that since the lives of the local people were better, and the county's revenue had increased a few times, it would not be a problem for him to covet a few hundred strings of coins. There was no such thing as fairness and impartiality in this world. Uncle, can I ask you something? Xiaobei suddenly asked the old man beside him. Don't mention one, I will answer as many as you ask. I will tell you everything I know. The old man said happily. Wang Chang suddenly said, Yes, I will tell you everything I know. Shut up, do you know? Do you know how to make us live a good life? The old man reprimanded. If it was before Xiao Bei and the others came, he would not dare to talk about the county magistrate. But now, he was not afraid. He probably would not be the county magistrate for long. Even if he continued to be the county magistrate, he was not afraid. If the provincial governor made a mistake, he would still dare to scold him in front of Xiao Bei and the others. Do you still have the guts to take revenge? Try it. If you take revenge today, someone will raid your house tomorrow. Taking revenge because of what Xiao Bei and the others did was to prevent the people from speaking to the emperor. If the path of speaking was not smooth, the fate of the nation would not be smooth. What kind of crime did you commit? Wang Chang seemed to have thought of this as well, so he did not even dare to look at the old man angrily. Uncle, don't worry about him. Let me ask you. Do you like an official who is not greedy and is dedicated to the people but cannot make your lives better, or do you like an official who is very smart and can make your lives dozens of times better with just a little bit of effort, but will also steal some of the money? Xiao Bei asked. Since ancient times, this topic had its own right and wrong. The old man was stunned by the question. When the group entered the range of the earth wall, he smacked his lips and said, in my opinion, it depends on the place. For example, in Wenshan, we can't eat meat twice a year. When we finally hunt something in the mountains, we have to make it into dried meat and take it outside to exchange for oil and salt. When there is a shortage of food, wild vegetables are good things. When you are hungry, grass roots and tree bark are also good. If the county magistrate wants to be greedy and live a good life, we can't wait to eat his meat and drink his blood. If it is that brat Gongsun, after 1 or 2 years, he can be greedy if he wants to. It is not easy for him. He can't be rich while we suffer. People's hearts are made of flesh. We also want him to live a good life. If the higher-ups really come to investigate, I don't know about others. I will help to speak up and stop it if I can. Your Sanshui County is definitely different. Everyone is rich and usually does not lack things. You are just an official to help maintain the status quo. What right do you have to be greedy? When you take the money that should be used in the county, what will other people use? The people of your Sanshui County are not greedy, right? Dare. Lend them 100 guts and I will let them live to earn but not to spend. In fact, there are no officials in my county who are greedy. The money that is earned is not as good as the money that is earned after doing a good job. The eyes of the common people are bright. Uncle, do you think Wang Chang, the county magistrate, is greedy? Xiao Bei seemed to have understood a problem and led the topic to Wang Chang. Wang Chang instantly felt that winter had come, and it came when he was standing on the top of Min Mountain. If he really said that he was greedy, his crime would be increased by 5 levels and he would be beheaded. I am not greedy. Thinking of his head, Wang Chang shouted at the top of his voice. Xiao Bei said lightly, reason does not depend on the loudness of your voice. I am really not greedy. Look, all of you, look at my clothes. Wang Chang continued to shout. As he spoke, he lifted his outer official robe, revealing the inner lining. The material of the inner lining was not bad. The men came over and touched it. They looked at each other and nodded. The man said, the second-class brocade of Sichuan has fine stitches and smooth silk. The only shortcoming is that the embroidery is not good. The first-class top grade is much better, such as Xiaoxian's inner lining. Xiaoxian, come here and let everyone have a look. The man thought that he and others were not wearing Sichuan brocade but fine cotton, so he had to call the maid over and lift the outer coat to reveal the inner lining. He said to the people around, this is first-class top-grade Sichuan brocade. County Magistrate Wang's clothes are worth 5 coins. But it seems that he has been wearing it for many years. There are patches on it and the silk on his stomach is almost broken. Thank you, good people. Wang Chang, who was relieved, said gratefully. At the same time, he looked at the maid Xiao Xian enviously. Even a maid is better dressed than me. Why don't you unruly people say that a maid is not well dressed? Of course, the unruly people did not care how well dressed the maids of the Zhang family and the Wang family were. The inner courtyards of the Zhang family and the Wang family were legendary. It was said that any one of them could be a good local official. Half of the officials in the Tang Empire suddenly died, so it was not a problem to replace the inner courtyards of the two families. What the unruly people cared about was whether County Magistrate Wang Chang was pretending or not. So they all came forward and touched County Magistrate Wang's clothes, leaving various handprints on them. Wang Chang's heart twitched when he was touched. He gritted his teeth and endured it. It was just a piece of clothing. It was better than losing his life. The patches are not new. Finally, someone made a conclusion. No. Someone echoed. It has been worn for many years. The silk here has been ruined. County Magistrate Wang, who was about to collapse, suddenly felt that most of the people in the county were good people. The old lady who spoke first, although wrinkled now, was definitely a beauty in her 20s. There was also a little boy who left black handprints and said that the silk was ruined. When he grew up, he was guaranteed to be a pillar of the country. He could easily become the top scorer in the imperial examinations. Xiao Bei and the 9 little guys were also puzzled. They gathered their heads together and muttered for a while. Xiao Bei turned back and asked, Wang Chang, did you deliberately wear a tattered piece of clothing to deal with us? I'll say this. If you really did something wrong, just say it directly. As long as you didn't kill someone or break up your family, we won't pursue it further. However, if you dare to lie to us, you can expect that our Zhang family and the Wang family are not good at investigating. Once we find out, the dozens of people standing on the Vermilion Bird Street in the capital's Chang and city will have one more partner. The family of the Hongnong County Magistrate, Yan Zheng, is still alive. Xiao Bei began to scare Wang Chang. Yan Zheng's family did not die because of the little girl. They were sent back from Japan and arranged to be somewhere else. However, outsiders did not know and thought that the whole family had been executed. The reason why Yan Zheng was so tenacious was because he knew that his family was still alive. During the new year, the little girl even came to visit him once. She sat in the car and lifted the curtains to look. This also allowed him to see the son that his pregnant wife had shown him when he was caught. Then, he needed to cooperate and shout to every passing official that if he did not die in 20 years, he could reunite with his family. Although he knew that he might not be able to hold on for 20 years, he was still willing to do it. It was enough to see his family once a year. Most of the others were caught in the previous fraud and religious incident. Only a few of them were officials from other places. To them, death was a kind of benevolence. They had to live so that the other officials could see how their bodies were gradually rotting away. They could see medical apprentices operating on their bodies and cutting off their rotten flesh to treat them. They could see their various reactions when they were about to be pierced with a new needle. Wang Chang had seen it before. During the new year, he had returned to the capital with the other local officials to discuss how to support Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan in their western expedition this year. The capital was even colder than Wenshan. One of the officials who had been caught had one of his legs frozen. Then, he was arranged to see the medical students explain how to deal with it on the spot. At the time, the official's leg was already black. On it were bulging and broken frostbites. Then, he was splashed with boiling water to record his skin reaction when he was suddenly exposed to heat after frostbites. In the end, his leg was sawed off and he was injected with a few injections of a newly developed drug. Before returning to Wenshan, he saw that person again and found that he was still alive. This showed that the medicine was good and that the medical students had superb medical skills. But no matter what, he did not want to personally experience the medical students' superb medical skills on the Vermilion Bird Street. When he thought of this, Wang Chang swallowed his saliva and said, "The clothes are definitely not for show. I don't usually do bad things." "Then why are you white and plump, while Gong Sun Moyu is dark and thin?" Xiao Bei inquired about his skin color and figure. Chapter 1187. Wang Chang looked at himself, stretched out his hand and touched his face and stomach. He lowered his head and didn't say anything. In fact, he wanted to say that Gong Sun Moyu wasn't dark and thin, he was just dark. How could he not be dark when he was running around outside all day? But he couldn't excuse himself by blaming others. If he angered Xiao Bei and the others, he might be dragged to the capital. I can prove that in the past 1.5 years, County Magistrate Wang didn't get a single penny from the county government for his own enjoyment, Gong Sun Moyu said righteously. Without waiting for others to ask, he continued, because after I came to the county, I knew the money in the county government. Part of the money that was handed over to the imperial court last year is in the Tang Bank in the state capital. Last year, there were 12 groups of inspectors. If County Magistrate Wang really used the money, I reported it. Since the end of the new year this year, our finances have always been open to the public. We have told the common people every coin we need. Until now, there have been 5 groups of inspectors. If there is really a problem, when the inspectors ask the people, the villagers will tell the truth. Yes, County Magistrate Gong Sun is right. Every month, they come for inspection. I am timid and won't spend the county's money, Wang Chang quickly said. Don't change the concept. I asked you why you are white and fat. You told me that you didn't spend the county's money. You didn't spend the county's money. It can only mean that you are not greedy, but it can't mean that you have no problems. For example, you took bribes, or you used your position to bully people, or you didn't pay when you ate in the restaurant. Xiao Bei still thought that Wang Chang's body couldn't be easily nourished in the tough environment of the county. I. After Wang Chang heard Xiao Bei's question, he began to stutter. Obviously, he was right. Gong Sun Moyu said, "What I can say is that County Magistrate Wang didn't pay when he ate, and he has 3 fixed restaurants. Every time, the restaurants give County Magistrate Wang money. The lowest is 20 to 30 coins, and the highest is 50 to 100 coins. You can even get money from eating. Good thing, why haven't I seen it before? County Magistrate Wang, you tell me, I will learn from you. There is such a wonderful thing in the world, good." Xiao Bei began to clench his teeth. "I'm innocent. A person came out of the crowd with a rolling pin in his hand. Seeing that everyone was looking at the weapon in his hand, 4 people grabbed his clothes and hurriedly threw the rolling pin on the ground. They were scared because at least 20 guns were pointed at them. Help him pick it up. What kind of weapon can the rolling pin be? At critical moments, what the rolling pin can do, the fist and the head can do as well. Newcomer, who did you say was wronged?" Little Hai didn't believe that someone would stupidly rush over and attack with a rolling pin. That rolling pin was no more than 2 feet long. The guns were put away, and some people picked up the rolling pin, but they didn't hand it to the people who had squeezed in. "County Magistrate Wang, I'm innocent. I overheard people saying that he doesn't pay for his meals and wants to pay for them. I'm innocent. He often eats in my shop. Why do you say he's resentful? Because he doesn't just eat, he also helps to cook. County Magistrate Wang's cooking skills were simply superb. Oh, my surname is Zhang, and my name is Wretched Ming. The person who called himself Zhang Kai gave Wang Chang a thumbs up when he praised him. Xiao Bei and the others didn't say anything. They looked at Zhang Kai and signaled for him to continue. Zhang Kai seemed to be slightly nervous. He took a few deep breaths to calm himself down and continued, County Magistrate Wang's best cooking skills are his knife skills and deep frying skills. That knife is very good. When cutting radishes, a few radishes added together are not even as thick as a strand of hair. He also deep-fried things. The same pot, the same oil, and the same things. County Magistrate Wang's deep-fried food is crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. How good is it? Let me tell you something. You know about pork and fish, right? After County Magistrate Wang's hand-frying, putting it in the pot and deep-frying, the outside of the pork will be crispy, and the inside of the fish will be juicy. It's fragrant and fresh. Those who have eaten it can testify. Every time County Magistrate Wang comes to my shop to eat, I've asked you to join in the fun. Let's not talk about how good he is as a county magistrate. Let's talk about his cooking skills. I gave him money, right? Yes. I've eaten it too. It's delicious. Vegetable dumpling, don't talk nonsense. County Magistrate Wang's deep frying skills are better than yours. Don't put gold on your face. Xiao Bei looked at the old man beside him and the old woman with the stick. Seeing that the two of them did not object, he believed a lot more. He then looked at County Magistrate Wang and suddenly laughed. Ah, are you a chef or a county magistrate? No wonder you're white and fat. You're a typical foodie. You don't care about the affairs of the people in the county. You go to other people's restaurants to eat and cook for them. Don't you think it's a waste of your talent to be a county magistrate? Yes, foodie. I'm a foodie. I don't deserve to be a county magistrate, Wang Chang said. I don't understand. You're a foodie. How did you become a county magistrate? You should be a chef. Xiao Bei was depressed. Who made Wang Chang the county magistrate? What a scam. I took the exam. In the 6th year of Kaiyuan, I was ranked 42nd. I was working in the imperial court, but I found that the salary was too little. The land next to my house was the land of other high-ranking officials. I wanted to raise pigs, but they said it smelled bad. I wanted to dig a pond to raise fish, but they were afraid that the pond water would flow into their fields and drown the seedlings, so they didn't let me dig. Later, I had to cook for my superior for half a month before he helped to transfer me away. Then, when Shan County lacked a county magistrate, I asked for help and got transferred to Wenshan. I knew about this place before I came. There are many wild animals in the mountains and many medicinal herbs. It's perfect for cooking. When Wang Chang talked about eating, he drooled. He swallowed twice to prevent the saliva from flowing out of his mouth. Xiao Bei patted his head twice. I really don't know what to say. I believe in Chef Zhang's words now. The food you cook must be delicious. I don't think it's right to say that a person who chose to be an official and choose a place to eat is not delicious. Have you been starving since you were young? No, I was able to eat when I was young because of my mother. My father died early, and my mother raised the 6 of us. At that time, Wang Chang began to talk about his family matters. He said that his mother had suffered a lot in order to raise the 6 of them. When they were young, they ate first, and their mother would eat after they were done. If there was nothing left, their mother would just drink some dishwater and consider it as eating. Later, he swore to the heavens and his ancestors that one day, when he was successful, he would definitely let his mother eat good food every day. Before he took the imperial examinations, he helped others copy books and earned money to buy ingredients for his mother to cook. Then, when he took the imperial examinations, he actually passed. Then, while he was an official, he used his salary to buy all kinds of food for his mother, wife, and children. As long as he was at home, he wouldn't let others cook. When it became a habit, he would feel uncomfortable if he didn't cook for a day. No matter where he became an official, he had to consider what the local food could be eaten, so that when he brought his family there, they could eat delicious food. He was frugal in his daily life. If his clothes were torn, his wife would mend them. He was not allowed to throw away leftovers. After all, his mother used to drink the dishwater. If he threw away the leftovers, he was afraid of being struck by lightning. When he arrived at Wenshan, he found that there were many wild animals. However, the county was poor, far worse than before. In the past, he could always get some benefits from other places, but there was nothing in Wenshan County. He really wanted to be greedy, but his mother wouldn't let him. She said that the commoners had a hard life, and if he spent this money, he would sooner or later suffer retribution. He would rather continue drinking the dishwater than eat the food bought with the greedy money. Otherwise, he would starve to death. Therefore, Wang Chang changed his method when he felt that his salary was not enough. He went to 3 good restaurants in the county to help. After he earned money, he went back to buy ingredients and cooked for his family. With his good skills, he lived well for the past few years. Every year, he could cook bear paws for his mother twice. Then, with the arrival of Gong Sun Moyu, he found that he couldn't beat him. Fortunately, Gong Sun Moyu was capable, so he put down the matters in the county and focused on cooking. I really didn't do anything bad. Wang Chang promised again. You still say you didn't do anything bad. This is considered inaction. Fortunately, Gong Sun Moyu came. Otherwise, the commoners in the county would have been cheated to death by you. Xiao Bei pointed at Wang Chang and said, I plead guilty. I deserve to die. Wang Chang lowered his head. Xiao Bei sighed. He reached out and grabbed Xiao Yuan's shoulder, shaking it back and forth. Xiao Yuan, why do we have such a hard life? Can't we encounter a simpler case? Investigate the evidence and chop off the head. Everyone is nimble. Look at what kind of people we met. When we investigated at the seaside, they were so capable that we could only give them a warning. When we investigated at Fengzhou, it was a fellow who was also used. Moreover, he was slick. It's the same now. You said you killed him, but he was filial. He also knows how to be thrifty. Moreover, he helped the restaurant to cook, which can be considered to have improved the food conditions of some people. But if you don't teach him a lesson, he hasn't done anything for the past few years. He only thinks about how to cook good food. It's too torturous. Xiao Yuan felt the same. He nodded and comforted Xiao Bei. Life, this is life. He won't be able to be a county magistrate. Why don't we send him to the front? Why? Let him do business. Xiao Bei pursed his lips and asked. Let him go to the front to study the ingredients there. In the future, when we conquer the place, we will develop it. Food is the most important thing to the people. Let him go there and try. Xiao Yuan suggested. Xiao Bei thought for a moment and said unhappily, it's enough to have brother. Didn't brother cook for us before? He said that the food that might appear there in the future is called curry or something. It's disgusting just thinking about it. I admit that he has been ambitious since he was young. He cooks well, but it depends on who he is compared to. His knife skills are good, but is he as pretty as brother when he's throwing knives? When frying pork and fish, it's nothing more than roasting the pork slightly to remove the moisture. When wrapping the fish, the inner layer of the pork is smeared with starch to moisturize it. If the weather is cold, the frozen fish is used. After frying it, it will be crispy on the outside and tender on the inside like juice. Right, County Magistrate Wang. Wang Chang was listening by the side. In the beginning, he was nervous when he heard the two of them deciding his life and death. When he heard Xiao Bei's method, he immediately forgot about his nervousness and asked in surprise, "You? How? How did you know? I have an exclusive secret recipe. The soup in the buns is just frozen first. My family's recipe is not leaked to outsiders. Pooey. My family runs a restaurant, Between the Clouds and the Water, and they have served soup dumplings many years ago. You think you are good at it, but have you eaten the real soup dumplings? My brother's food is the best delicacy in the world," Xiao Bei said proudly. "I will definitely ask for advice when I have the time," Wang Chang replied unconvinced. "You have the time, but my brother doesn't." "Right, I almost forgot. Your brother is Xiao Bao. He won't play with me." Wang Chang appeared very depressed. The difference in status was too great. "Find a place to rest first. We will talk about your matter later. Don't worry, you won't die. At most, you will suffer a little. Gong Sun Moyu, think of a plan and tell us later. If we can't solve it, we can look for brother and sister. I believe that brother and sister are definitely better than you." Xiao Bei, who realized that he still couldn't directly kill the officials, quickened his pace. At the same time, he felt that this was good. It meant that there were fewer problems with the officials in Tang Dynasty. If there were officials everywhere that deserved to die, Tang Dynasty would be in danger. Chapter 1188. There were all kinds of houses in the county. Some were made of wood, some were made of bamboo, and some were made of mud with thatch. The streets were also very narrow. Not to mention, compared to Chang'an, it was even worse than an ordinary village. The main road could only accommodate 2 carriages side by side. The people who came later were worried that if someone happened to be walking on the road, where would the person hide? My county has decided to build a 4-lane road within a year and ensure that the road is sturdy, regardless of rain or drought. County Magistrate Wang, you don't have to say any more. There are houses by the roadside. If the road is to be built, the houses will be demolished. If we want to build, we should build the road leading to the outside first. The county will deal with it first. When the days are better in the future, the people will naturally choose a spacious place to build their houses. Xiao Bei was too embarrassed to tell Wang Chang directly that he had no authority to build the road. He was about to leave the position of county magistrate and Gong Sun Moyu would take over his position. Wang Chang lowered his head and did not say anything. Gong Sun Moyu asked, "Where are you going to rest?" "Find a spacious place and set up our tents. I can see that you don't have a good place to settle us down. Where is the spacious place in the county? If you want to talk about spacious, it's naturally outside the city. If it's inside the city, there's a place for the school." Gong Sun Moyu thought for a while and gave a place, the school. Xiao Bei waved his hand, "Let's go to the school." The large group of people and horses started to move towards the school. The 9 children kept frowning. There was a sewage ditch by the roadside, just in front of the houses or shops. It was originally covered with wooden planks or stones, but because of the lack of maintenance, many of the ditches were exposed. They could clearly see the black mud in the ditch and some white things that were soaking in it. As there was no rain for the past 2 days, the things in the ditch could not be flushed out. They were piled up there to ferment and grow mold, causing flies to fly around constantly. There were also unknown fungi growing around the wooden houses. There were all kinds of grass on the mud houses. It seemed that the owner was not in the mood to care. A maid wanted to run to the road in front to help with the incense, but was stopped by Xiao Bei and others. She said that she was not that precious. Although the smell was not good, it was real. In fact, the little ones were worried that once they used the incense, they would distance themselves from the locals. The smell was bad, but it was not easy to get back the people's hearts. Not to mention that it was just a sewage ditch. Even if it was a dung soup, when the local people entered, he and the others would have to follow. Moreover, they would have to be the kind of people who would chat and laugh and never leave each other's side. Zhang Fang tugged on Gong Sun Moyu's sleeves, and when Gong Sun Moyu turned his head, she said, "The only thing that's lacking is the hygiene. My house is very clean now, no one pees and pees everywhere." 2 large latrines were built at home. Not only was the village clean, but there was also a lot of fertilizer. My family is in the mountains of Wing Prefecture. It's a big stronghold. My father told me about it. Only then did Gong Sun Moyu remember that the little ones were not all from Sanshui County. There were also people from other tribes. They were even more independent than the Wenshan tribe. Normal officials could not control them, for example, An Yi, who was also beside him. The main reason is that the medical conditions are not good enough. There are only 2 doctors who have just graduated and a few apprentices sent by the imperial court from the medical academy. The medicinal herbs they brought with them have been used up. Now they are using soup medicine. Speaking of which, it's not easy for people to enter the medical academy now. They need to learn 2 systems. They need to know how to use the stethoscope. Once the stethoscope is broken, they need to immediately take the arm's pulse. When the medicine from the pharmaceutical factory is used up, they need to write down the herbal prescription. Gong Sun Moyu explained the current situation. It was not that they did not want to do a good job in medical hygiene, but that there were not enough doctors. Zhang Fang was obviously not satisfied with this answer. "You are shirking your responsibility. I don't care if it's easy for doctors or not. That's their problem. Although it's 2 systems, it's actually 1. If you insist on opposing them, of course it's 2 systems. Without doctors, without medical staff, what does it have to do with hygiene? Wenshan has many minerals, gypsum and lime, which can be used for sterilization. Is it difficult to build a large latrine? Yes, I didn't consider it thoroughly." Gong Sun Moyu nodded and admitted. He did not explain that he had been busy helping the locals become rich. Jianjia's people did not need to explain. If you dare to say that you were negligent, then you were not capable enough. The little ancestors of the Zhang family and Wang family also did not consider the difficulty of the process. They only needed to know the result. It was not that they were unreasonable, but they were used to overcoming any difficulties. When did their brothers and sisters complain? At this moment, Gong Sun Moyu's heart was full of piety and awe. He decided that after he became the county magistrate, he would consider the problems in the county more comprehensively and in more detail. He did not want to weaken Jianjia's reputation. They walked all the way to the front of the county yamen. The place seemed to be much more spacious. The yamen's door was pushed back more than 10 meters. Although the blue stone in front of the door was also damaged, it was still flat. However, there were no stone lions in the yamen, nor were there any drums for the people to play. The left and right doors were no longer painted. A few small wild bees had settled down in the holes of the doors. There was obviously a big green insect on the stairs that was slowly being dragged by ants to their home. They continued to walk forward and finally saw a 2-story house. It was a restaurant. The sign hanging in front of the door was fluttering in the wind. A man dressed as a waiter got a small stool and sat at the door, holding his chin and curiously looking at the team. When he saw the rice seedling flag fluttering together with the sign above the team, he stood up immediately, his eyes shining. His legs were trembling, he did not know whether to walk forward or hide in the house. The county magistrate, Wang Chang, had a good relationship with this restaurant. He introduced, Ishan Pavilion is the best restaurant in the county. The home-brewed local wine has the best taste. It is soft but not greasy, spicy but not spicy. It has a lingering aftertaste. Even if you drink too much, your head will not hurt. Alright, stop bragging. I have never heard of anyone who drank too much not having a headache. They can drink too much because of alcohol. How can one's head not hurt when there is alcohol? Xiao Bei did not stop and continued to walk forward. Alcohol is purer than other wines. Wang Chang explained. Is medical alcohol pure or not? Other than distilled water, there is only alcohol. Drink it and see if your head hurts. The best house in the county is actually a restaurant. Tell me, you are the county magistrate. Xiao Bei did not continue to talk to Wang Chang. Instead, he expressed his dissatisfaction to Gong Sunmoyu. Gong Sunmoyu paused for a moment. No, the best restaurant is this restaurant. The best house is definitely not this. Then I will see which house is the best. Xiao Bei began to consider whether he should replace Gong Sunmoyu and get a few people from the academy to help build Wenshan. After walking slowly for nearly half an hour, Xiao Bei finally suppressed the idea of replacing Gong Sunmoyu when he saw the scenery in front of him. He saw 6 three-story buildings made of a mixture of mud bricks, bamboo, and wood. The distance between each building was at least 30 meters. At the very front, there was a beautiful bamboo fence. The fence at the entrance was relatively high, and there were 2 thick and long logs standing there. Together, the logs supported a horizontal board with the words Wenshan School written in large letters. The first half of the couplet on the right read, "The wind whistles through the 4 seasons, chilling people to the bone." The second half of the couplet on the left read, "The sound of books will purify and warm the hearts of people for eternity." Xiao Bei and the others narrowed their eyes and smiled. Just as Gong Sunmoyu said, the place was big enough. At a glance, the field in front was about 400 meters long and 200 meters wide. There were seesaws, slides, swings, and everything else. Children as small as wearing open-crotch pants and as big as 1.5 meters tall were running around and playing. The most important thing was that all the children were wearing the same cloth and the same color. It was obvious that they were all custom-made. Wenshan County was poor. One could tell by looking at the road and the clothes the locals wore. It was amazing that such a poor place had such a beautiful school. Especially when it was impossible to build a school in a day. It would take at least half a year. However, it was winter a year ago. How could a mud brick house be built in winter? This meant that Gong Sunmoyu started building the school not long after he arrived. The problem was, where did the money come from? Not bad, not bad. We will borrow the school field first. When we leave, we will give you a borrowing fee. Xiao Bei decided to rest in the school. No need, no need. The registrar, who had not had a chance to speak, finally spoke up. Xiao Bei glared at him with his watery eyes. Who doesn't need it? Do you think I am compensating you? You have such a thick face. You are using the children's benefits to curry favor with your superior, right? Remember, we adults must not violate the children's benefits. Even animals know how to protect their calves, let alone humans. I know my mistake, I know my mistake. The registrar, who had just had a chance to speak, repeatedly agreed. However, he cursed in his heart. Aren't you also a child? Why are you pretending to be an adult? Xiao Yuan suggested, don't give the money. What if it is misappropriated? If he dares, I will take his life. You are right. Giving the money and going out to buy it, it is a waste of effort. The weather is getting warmer. Send a few carts of silk to make clothes to cool down. Then send 1,000 boxes of various canned food, as well as oil, seasonings, refined salt. Our family's kuenbu in Jili province is seaweed. Also, send 1,000 caddies of dry goods. Let me tell you, if any unrelated person dares to touch the things given to the children, don't blame me for not warning you. I will chop you up. I will personally use a guillotine. If anyone doesn't believe me, try it. See if I dare. Xiao Bei glared at him. His cute eyes swept back and forth. Whoever he looked at lowered their heads. No one was willing to try. What was there to be afraid of? His sister would kill people with a smile and write with human blood. After saying that, Xiao Bei suddenly thought of a very important matter. She asked Gong Sun Moyu, if you don't use the resources behind you, where will you get the money to build the school? Gambling. Gong Sun Moyu answered with a single word. He organized his words and said, I gamble with the literati and businessmen in Idyll. We gamble on poems, couplets, calligraphy, painting, charades, and so on. And you win. Xiao Bei thought this was fun. Gong Sun Moyu nodded. I gamble based on the people. I don't look for those who are really capable. I only look for those whose families are rich and powerful. I bet with those who think that they have studied under a great scholar. To them, gambling is a great knowledge, but to us, who graduated from Jinjia, it is just a basic skill. Every time I win, the gap is not big. Earning money is really fast. If not for the fact that I still have things to do in the county, I really want to stay in Idyll and play with them every day. That's great. The 9 of us have decided to find time to go to Idyll and gamble. We have to go back and ask our brothers and sisters if they have any tricks. It will be embarrassing if we lose. Gong Sun Moyu, how much money did you get from gambling? Just enough to build the school. Xiao Bei found an interesting way to make money. Chapter 1189. When Gong Sun Moyu heard Xiao Bei's question, he was stunned for a moment before he reacted. He was afraid that he would fork out money. He had said that he was from an ordinary family. In the future, there would be many kinds of expenses in the school. If there was not enough money, it would delay the children. Moreover, the little ancestors of the main family were very rich and could take out money to subsidize the children of the Tang Empire. It was said that it was an agreement with Her Majesty. Every year, a portion of the candy house's income would be used on the children, and the candy house would be exempted from taxes. However, it was said that the money they took out last year was much more than what was stated in the agreement. His family's intelligence said that wherever the children were suffering, they would allocate money. They usually ate and used the family's food and had no place to spend money. For example, if there was a flood, the imperial court would take out some money and reduce taxes. The Zhang family and Wang family were responsible for the distribution of supplies, and the little fellow was responsible for the children's lives after the disaster. Thinking about it, Gong Sun Moyu sighed. He thought that these little fellows lived in rich families. How could the children of ordinary families be willing to spend so much money? Not to mention that they did not have money, they would keep it even if they had money. Putting aside his thoughts, Gong Sun Moyu replied, they supported the county's education with more than 4,100 strings of coins. I spent some of it mainly, such as organizing the poetry gathering. The accounts are a little messy, so I did not count them. Anyway, I won't embezzle my own money. After all, I won the money, so it's reasonable for me to spend it myself, right? The kids nodded, indicating that Gong Sun Moyu was right. Taking out the money one was a favor, but not taking it out was a duty. Just because someone donated 100 strings of coins, one couldn't investigate them and say that they had a net worth of 100,000 strings of coins. Usually, they would eat a few hundred strings of coins for a meal. Why didn't they save a little and donate it? It was too shameless to speak like that. Of course, when it was time to donate money, you have to take the initiative to donate. It was not that it was wrong to have money, but that you live in this society and have to make choices. When you count on the law to protect your interests, you have to let more people agree with the law first. Otherwise, when people go crazy from poverty, overthrow the regime and then cut you down, who can you reason with? You should leave some money for yourself to enjoy. Xiao Bei agreed and said, "Do you still need money?" "We have money. Our money is used for this kind of thing. Otherwise, why would people be so enthusiastic when they see us? As long as they are not stupid, there is always a reason for love and hate. If we can buy other people's smiles and support with money, we have the ability to spend it and are willing to spend it." The surrounding locals didn't expect Xiao Bei to be so straightforward, but they didn't feel disgusted when they heard it. Everyone understood the logic. If you treat me well, I'll treat you well. Children of Ru Shui, if you give me candy, I'll play with you. Yes, we are lacking a lot. After this year, it will be better next year. Next year, the county's revenue will increase, and so will the local people's income. It will increase by several times or even dozens of times. The location of the school didn't cost any money as the county directly allocated it. The 6 buildings of the school didn't cost any money either as the locals built them themselves. I just took the lead and shouted a few words. Money was spent on writing brushes, ink, paper, and inkstone, as well as pencils, rulers, and other teaching tools, as well as clothes for the 4 seasons. Children grew up quickly, and they were always playing around, so the clothes were worn out just as quickly. The rest was food. In the past, children only needed to fill their stomachs, and they could persevere even if they weren't very hungry. Now, the situation is orthodox learning. The intensity is high, and the nutrition needs to keep up. Although children are young, they eat no less than adults. They eat rice for the whole night, attend 2 classes, and go outside to play between classes. When they come back hungry, they immediately have to arrange for a meal. Gong Sun Moyu wasn't stupid enough to ask Fatty for help. If he didn't have money, he wouldn't say he had money. Besides, it wasn't shameful to ask Xiao Bei and the rest for money. They had a lot of money, and it didn't matter who he gave it to. Hearing that Gong Sun Moyu wanted money, Xiao Bei was happy. There was no other way. He had too much money and couldn't spend it. "How much do you want?" Xiao Bei asked expectantly. 8,000 strings of cash. Gong Sun Moyu gave a number without hesitation. "So much. What are you spending it for?" Xiao Bei didn't believe that the children of Wenshan County could spend so much money in less than a year. Actually, they don't need it in the school. There are 690 children in the school in this county. Some of the children are too young, and the family is worried. I plan to let them send all the children above the age of 1.5 here in the future and arrange for people to take care of them. It's much better than letting the adults take care of them at home. The number of children who die in the school is definitely less than those who die at home. Now, all the children in the county school live in the school. Otherwise, why would 6 buildings be built? There are places for the children to live in. The advantage of the children living in the county is that it's convenient to see a doctor, and there are teachers to teach them. Most of the food they eat is bought locally. I want 8,000 strings of cash because I want to organize people to take the children out for a look when the county isn't busy in a few days. Some people in the county have never been out in their lives, and I don't want our children to be cooped up in the same place for the rest of their lives. Let them go to Idyll Prefecture and compare with the local children. Idyll Prefecture is much better than us. Only after they compete will they know their shortcomings and work hard. Gong Sun Moyu said with a look of yearning. Just based on his words, he was much better than many county magistrates. He was knowledgeable and could take root in the local reality. Such officials were rare. Yes, yes. A sense of shame is close to courage, Xiao Yuan agreed. Xiao Bei blinked. Where did you find a local teacher? From Idyll by swindling, oh no, exchanging, yes, exchanging. I'm the deputy county magistrate, but I also graduated from Jinjia Academy. I'm also a Jinshi graduate. Not all scholars can pass the Jinshi examination. As for me, I asked them to teach under the condition of knowing the tricks of the Jinshi examination. Some of them didn't even have the status of a scholar, so I promised to teach them. I took an hour to teach them every day, and they went to teach the children in the county. With such an exchange, there were many teachers in the county. Gong Sun Moyu answered embarrassedly. It seemed that his method was slightly improper because in addition to having the ability to take the imperial examination, one must first obtain the approval of the officials. Except for the outstanding people who were really knowledgeable, most of them were basically the same, so one needed to have connections. The reason why Jinjia Academy was powerful was not only because of the support from the Zhang family, Wang family, and Baigo. More importantly, many of the students who graduated from Jinjia Academy were stronger than the examiners. The examiners had no choice but to admit them, unlike other examinees who only knew how to talk on paper. It was like starting a business after graduating from primary school. 20 years later, with a net worth of tens of billions, he could find a university and ask for a doctorate in economics. Would you dare to refuse? If you felt that the other party was not qualified, they could earn tens of billions. If you were good, how much could you earn? Xiao Bei and the others did not think about the background. Instead, they were deeply inspired, especially Zhang Gang and Zhang Fang. Previously, their fathers said that they could not find a good teacher in the city, and they were cheated of a tiger skin. According to Gong Sun Moyu's method, could they also get someone to teach the children? Very good, here. Xiao Bei rummaged through his bag and took out a 1 luo note. Don't give me 8,000 strings of coins, I'll give you 10,000 strings of coins. Write a receipt for me, and it needs to be stamped. What are you looking at? I have a lot of money in my bag, so I can't let you do it. Gong Sun Moyu was speechless. She was really rich. How much money did she put in her bag? He saw a lot of money just now. Why don't you save it? There will be interest. Gong Sun Moyu felt that it was not worth it to keep the money on him, so he reminded Xiao Bei. Save the whole money. It's small change. Carry it with you. Xiao Bei said indifferently, looking at the children who were running toward the classroom. In fact, she was pretending. She had more than 200,000 strings of coins in her bag, and the change was not so small. Before coming here, she was afraid that the bank here would not be easy to withdraw money, so she exchanged it from the capital. Everyone had it in their bag. After all, the bank could circulate money, but they were not qualified to print money. Gong Sun Moyu did not know the details, and only thought that she was rich. His hand holding the 1 luo note could not help but tremble. It was not only money, but also a responsibility. 10,000 strings of coins, he must find a way to let the children live comfortably, play comfortably, and learn more. He estimated that there would be a lot left. The children in the school started class, and Xiao Bei and the others set up tents in the playground. When the class ended, the children could not continue to play in the playground. The group of people rested, and those who had rested yesterday started to do their duty. The 9 children also went to sleep. The people in the county temporarily put aside the affairs of the yamen and found a tea shop opposite the school courtyard to drink tea, waiting for Xiaobei and the others to wake up for lunch. "I've decided to cook personally," Wang Chang said solemnly while holding a teacup. "I think it's okay." The registrar supported. "I object," Gong Sun Moyu said. Everyone looked over. When the patrol envoys eat lunch, they will definitely eat with 690 children. Can County Magistrate Wang cook for 700 people? Gong Sun Moyu gave a reason. Wang Chang took a deep breath and shook his head. Obviously, he had not practiced cooking in a big pot. The food for 700 people would tire him to death, and it was too late to start now. "If we eat together, we will change the dishes for lunch and pick the better ones." Wang Chang thought of another idea. "I object." Without waiting for the others to support, Gong Sun Moyu objected again. "If the patrol envoys eat with the children will definitely talk about it. If the patrol envoys hear about it, what will they think? Will they think that the food they eat is very bad, so they fake it today?" The people around nodded. It was really possible. "Then you think of a way?" Wang Chang asked. "Cook according to yesterday's lunch. Originally, we agreed to not repeat the same dish for the next 3 days. If we cook according to yesterday's dishes, the children would definitely ask why they ate the same dish as yesterday." The patrol envoys understood immediately. "This is what we usually feed the children. Then we will add one more dish. If the children are satisfied, the patrol envoys will also be happy." Gong Sun Moyu thought of a good idea. The others all gave him a thumbs up. Brilliant, really brilliant. Sure enough, when Xiaobei and the others were woken up for lunch, they directly asked to eat with the children in the school. The other children were overjoyed. When they saw the dishes they were allowed to choose, they immediately told Xiaobei and the others that this was what they ate for lunch yesterday. There were a total of 4 dishes, 2 meat and 2 vegetables. The children could choose 1 meat and 1 vegetable. There was also a bowl of soup and 2 small salted vegetables. After the selection of the dishes, someone brought in a basin of oily red braised pork. The children cheered happily. Xiaobei and the others could not help but tremble. It was too greasy. What kind of pig was this? 3 inches of fatty meat and a little bit of lean meat. Gong Sun Moyu, come here, come here. We will let you eat these few portions of red braised pork. You just woke up and can't eat too much. Tell me about the county's plan. Eat the meat, we will talk as we eat. Eat quickly. Xiaobei called Gong Sun Moyu over and pushed the meat over. Chapter 1190. If it was Gong Sun Moyu in the past, he would not be able to eat the braised pork either. But now, he opened his mouth and ate a big piece. He had not improved his life for a long time. The 1.5 years in Wenshan were not easy. Except for the first 2 months of fighting with the county magistrate, he spent the rest of his time running around the village and outside. He even had to bring his own food to the people's houses. The people did not have enough food. His family was not rich. After he graduated from the academy, he gave most of the money he earned after the imperial examinations to his family. He had younger brothers and sisters at home. So now that he had a chance to eat meat, he stuffed it into his stomach. Anyway, the little ones would not like it. Soon, he finished the meat. Xiao Yuan pushed his own braised pork over. Gong Sun Moyu did not continue to eat. He picked up a piece and chewed slowly. He nodded gratefully to Xiaobei and said, "It will be better in the future. Don't wait. I'll send dozens of boxes of canned food for you to eat." If you can't keep up with the nutrition, you will be tired out first. Who will help the people then? When you become the county magistrate in the future, you will be busy with more things. The goal is not to tire you out. Let me tell you first. No matter rich or poor, you have to educate the people well. Xiao Yuan looked at the cut on Gong Sun Moyu's hand holding the chopsticks and said with distress. It was definitely not only because of the wind and cold, but also because of malnutrition. Officials who were capable and sincere to the people had to be taken care of and loved. Okay. Gong Sun Moyu did not refuse. He also felt tired recently. Especially after he finished the work at the beginning of spring, he could find a place to lie down and sleep. It was not like this before. He ate 2 pieces of meat in a row. He paused his chopsticks and said, "In the past, I wanted to rely on myself. I planned to continue to expand the breeding of ducks. I would buy half-grown ducks and raise them for a few months to lay eggs. Then I would make century eggs. The county is rich in sea resources. It is suitable for raising ducks. What about now?" Xiao Bei tried not to look at the braised pork and lowered his head to ask. Gong Sun Moyu did not answer Xiao Bei directly. Instead, he continued to talk about his previous plans. There are still a few good minerals in the county. I was thinking of finding a businessman to take a look. In addition, I will plant various vegetables in the late season. Although the vegetables are produced late at the beginning and I will lose money, when the price rises, it will be more cost-effective. Also, try to plant a few medicinal herbs that are easy to take care of. After the profits are generated next year, we will increase the planting area. After 2 years, I will be relieved. At that time, whether I leave or stay, I will not have any regrets. Xiao Bei had already poured the soup into his bowl and was halfway into his mouth when he stopped. It's okay. Since I want to use the resources now, I don't intend to find merchants to mine them first and then process them outside. I asked the technicians to come over and build a cement factory in the area. The cement produced would be sent to the outside along the Wenjiang River. Selling the finished product would be more profitable than selling the raw materials. As for the environmental pollution, I'll think of a way to find a remote place to build a factory. At most, I'll just throw that piece of land away. For example, when the Great Tang Bank borrows money, doesn't the Imperial Court have a plan to support it? I use my connections to apply for it first. Buy more piglets and build a large pig house area next to the sea. Add the mud in the sea and make a large biogas pool. Use charcoal to burn gypsum and continue to deliver. When it came to business, Gong Sun Moyu's chopsticks stopped moving and his eyes lost focus. His entire body and mind were devoted to the plan. If one looked at him from the side, one would find that he was the most handsome at this moment. The people around him also stopped what they were doing and quietly looked at him and listened to him speak. A few local girls who came to help stared at him without blinking. A serious man was indeed attractive. Xiao Bei and the others were stunned and puzzled. They felt that Gong Sun Moyu's expression was making a fuss over nothing. It was just a plan, did he have to be so serious? When her brother and sister discussed national affairs together, they were relaxed and could even joke. Okay, maybe everyone is different. Xiao Bei muttered her thoughts and then smiled embarrassedly. She suggested, raising cows is not good. Our county has pasture resources. Moreover, cows are easy to sell and the beef is delicious. Oh, no, it's the beef that accidentally dies is delicious. After making the suggestion, Xiao Bei looked around guiltily. The beef that she ate naturally could not be completely dependent on the cow to die by itself. Other people did not care about how the cow died and had tacitly agreed to the benefits and enjoyment of the privileged class. We don't have enough money. I can't use too many resources. We have to leave some for others. There is a lot of pasture. Last year, because of some restrictions, we did not implement it. Today, we plan to produce a large number of Qingchuan and cooperate with the garrison in Pingzhou to exchange their eliminated warhorses. Then, we will transport the warhorses to Qingdu and rent them out as laborers. We will use the money to buy supplies. When Gongsun Moyu spoke, he glanced at Wang Chang and the registrar. The two people who were looked at could not help but tremble and feel weak in the knees. Last year, when Gongsun Moyu wanted to organize the Qingchuan, they gathered the laborers to build the river one day in advance. The timing of the annual labor of the common people was very appropriate. Thinking of that, they were worried and impressed. They were worried that Gongsun Moyu would tell Xiao Bei and the others. They were impressed because Gongsun Moyu did not show the slightest anger or frustration in the face of such a situation. Instead, he used the opportunity when a large number of people were building the irrigation system to release a lot of bamboo rafts. Then, they were transported to Shu County in Idyll and burned into bamboo charcoal in a remote place. A few months ago, they were sold in Idyll City in the winter and made a lot of money. They ordered a lot of iron chains and were about to be transported back to the county. They were going to build a mixed iron and bamboo bridge over the Wenjiang River. After all, iron was too expensive and the money was far from enough. What a good move to beat them at their own game. They could not help but be impressed. Yes, County Magistrate Gongsun, speaking of which, I am also, shut up. Xiao Bei glared at the registrar who just spoke. This time, we don't want to kill people. Don't force me. You keep silent now. I will forgive you if I am happy with what Gongsun Moyu said. You can't hide the fact that you are doing bad things behind the scenes. Don't think that I don't know that some things are referring to you and Wang Chang. As expected, the registrar did not dare to speak again. He thought that he could fool him, but he did not expect that Xiao Bei was also a shrewd person. Turning his head, Xiao Bei smiled and said to Gongsun Moyu, "You know the actual situation. I gave you a blind idea. What other ideas do you have?" On the way here, we met a group of people who asked for 2 water pumps. We agreed, but the problem of electricity is not easy to solve. Originally, we wanted to rely on manpower and animal power to generate electricity. Tell me about this. No, the fields on the mountain are useless. Gongsun Moyu rejected. It is not cost-effective to build a small hydropower station in this county. The fields on the mountain have been planted this year. Tomorrow, I will let them plant medicinal herbs. If it is really not possible, we will use bamboo to attract the mountain spring. Okay. Xiao Bei was not familiar with the local situation, so he followed the good advice. He would send someone to tell the people he met. It was not that he did not want to give, but that Gongsun Moyu did not want it. Go on, what else do you want to do? Xiao Bei asked again. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who had already arrived at Wing Prefecture, looked very leisurely at the moment. Last night, they drank with the people of various villages and woke up at 7 in the morning. They only had a bowl of porridge and would have a good meal at noon. Now, the two of them were standing upstairs and looking at the busy street through the window. When they arrived yesterday, many people had already started moving from outside to the city. When Yi was the provincial governor, he made many businessmen leave. Now that they heard that Zhang Xiaobao and Cuckoo were coming, the businessmen began to come back. They believed that even if the two of them left, there would be no more problems in Wing Prefecture. One by one, they brought their families and formed a huge team to enter the city. The houses, which were originally covered with spider webs, were cleaned up again. Everyone's faces were filled with happy smiles when they were working. Not only people came back, but also many goods from outside. Looking at the crowd and imagining the prosperous scene in the future, Chang Hu's smile never stopped. He said to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, when the war starts, Wing Prefecture can be used as a logistics base. I believe that many people will settle down there. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at each other and said, we need to build the river. It's still not convenient to transport goods by land. River. Where does the river go? Chang Hu was confused. The river was built, and it was the last to enter the Yangtze River. What did it have to do with the front line? To transport the things in the mountains out. Zhang Xiaobao answered. Not going to war. Chang Hu was still thinking about the war. Yes, but not in a hurry. We'll stay in Wing Prefecture for half a month first, and then go sightseeing all the way there. It'll be fine as long as we can arrive before September. When the autumn harvest comes, we'll transport the surplus food from other places and the local specialties out. We need a lot of people for the big trade. Wang Wan added. Chang Hu was even more confused. He lowered his head and pondered for a while, but still didn't understand. He said, didn't we say that we would start the war before the autumn harvest and catch them off guard? If you don't start the war earlier, they'll have all the food. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan laughed mysteriously. After a long time, one would find that they were laughing sinisterly. Tell me, what's the plan? Chang Hu urged. When we come, the war will start. Many cannibals will know that we're in Wing Prefecture, and then we'll go to the front line. What will they think? Zhang Xiaobao asked. Chang Hu immediately answered, of course, they'll be prepared for war. When you come, they'll be very scared and need to guard against you. How will they prepare for war? Zhang Xiaobao asked again. Of course, they'll gather their forces at the border and wait for you to take action. They'll try their best to defeat you or not lose too much land. Oh, I understand. Once they do as I say, they won't have anyone to harvest the food. You'll use the cannons to cover them, kill their people, and occupy their land, right? Chang Hu rolled his eyes and felt that he had figured it out. This was a good idea. Before the two armies fought, they could torment their opponents first. Chapter 1191. Chang Hu opened his mouth again but stopped himself. He just remembered that the strategy of the great Tang should be kept a secret, and he was not qualified to know. It was like how Xiao Bao did not answer the political questions at the end of the imperial examinations. Who would dare to ask when it involved the foundation of the great Tang? Xiao Bao, you and Cuckoo pack up and go back to the stronghold to drink tonight. Everyone misses you. I remember that you were only this tall back then. Chang Hu gestured in front of his chest. It has been a few years. If they see your backs, they won't be able to recognize you. Xiao Bao, do you still need a younger brother or sister? Chang Hu finally revealed his intentions. He wanted to continue stuffing people into Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's hands. He had a few wives and many children at home. Raising them by himself would definitely not be as good as giving them to the two of them. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Chang Hu with a different gaze until Chang Hu felt embarrassed. Uncle, we are going to war. My matters are no less than Cuckoo's. The army is just a support. I have to do most of the planning. I can't even bring my own siblings. We can't do anything about the things you mentioned. Alright, forget it. Let's not talk about it. I am content with having Xiaofang and Xiaojiang. You are right. Cuckoo is good at using troops. Others might be afraid of her, but you are different. You kill without spilling blood. Now, the Tubo people will cry at the mention of your name. Seeing that the matter was not going to work, Chang Hu did not force it. Zhang Xiaobao was silent. Wang Wan covered her mouth and laughed. Chang Hu's words made sense. She led the army to fight against the Tubo people and won temporarily. If Xiao Bao did not let go, the Tubo people would be wiped out. If it was not for the family, would he be the one who came up with the idea of destroying the foundation of the Tubo people? Seeing that the two of them did not speak, Chang Hu smiled and praised, "You don't know." Because Brother Yongqing was in Idyll at that time, the people of Idyll came to Tubo to do business. The Tubo people have never dared to do business with them, and the price is fair. Uncle, don't always talk about Tubo. That place is now called Luozhou. It's not a problem to call it a Dao, but it has a small population. Luo province was rich in resources. Due to environmental factors, it had great strategic value. Why do I have to take that place down in one go? It's because I'm afraid that if I stop after a dozen fights, it'll take a lot of effort the next time. While the status of the other religions is still unstable, we should take back our great Tang as soon as possible. This will save us a lot of trouble in the future. The rest is an internal matter. We can take our time. Speaking of that, Zhang Xiaobao was also vexed. That place was big, and the population was small. In other words, when there was a war, the enemy could hide, and they had strategic depth. If he hadn't caught the other party off guard, followed up with the economic and crop strategy, and showed the guns and cannons later, when the other party was familiar with the area, they would have to pay a huge price if they wanted to take over the area. Even now, it was not easy to do so. If they moved all the people here, the local area would be empty. If they sent people from other places, such as Jiangnan, there would be no difference from sending them to their deaths. If 100 people were to live in a place for 2 years, it would be considered good if 10 of them could survive. If they maintained the status quo, they would have to strengthen the propaganda. Otherwise, it would be easy for the local people to have ideas of independence. Now, they were afraid of both fighting and suffering. In addition, the people who went to help during the disaster had changed the minds of many locals. But who could guarantee that there were no ambitious people? How could Chang Hu know so many things? He just needed to take care of his own stronghold. When he heard Zhang Xiaobao say that the name was changed, he nodded, indicating that he had remembered it. Suddenly, he thought of something and asked expectantly, "Xiaobao, how long will you and Cuckoo fight? There are many good guys in the stronghold. Can you arrange for them to protect you?" Zhang Xiaobao shook his head regretfully. "No, we are not in charge of choosing people. The guards have to be tested. If the people in the stronghold are older, they can go and learn first. Then, we will arrange their positions according to the situation." Seeing Chang Hu nod to show that he understood, he said, "There is no fixed number for how long the battle will last. At least 2 years. Yes, it's not good to fight with too much food. The place is big and there are many people." Chang Hu frowned, looking worried. "Uncle, it has nothing to do with too much food," Wang Wan interrupted. Chang Hu was stunned. "You fight with too much food. How long you fight has nothing to do with too much food. Then what's the deal with duosher? They are just partners. They are just gathering grass to hunt rabbits. If the domestic problem is solved in 1.5 years, we will fight for 1.5 years. If it is solved in 2 years, we will fight for 2 years. If 2 years are not enough, we will continue to fight with duosher." Wang Wan replied with a smile. Chang Hu did not know what domestic problems needed to be solved by fighting others, but he deeply felt the arrogance and unreasonableness of the two people in front of him. It was obvious that the two of them did not take duosher seriously. Duosher was really wrong to be beaten up this time. After thinking about it again, Chang Hu gave up. He was afraid that thinking too much would give him a headache. The situation was too strange. They had a problem in their own country, but they did not solve it. Instead, they went to fight others. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, of course, would not explain in detail to Changhu. If they really did, they would not be able to finish explaining in a day. They made an appointment with Changhu to go to the stockade to drink in the evening. The two of them strolled to the not very big river outside the city, intending to collect water to do an experiment on raising ornamental fish. Before they reached the river, a servant hurried over and reported, "Bai Go and Yao Chong are here." Zhang Xiaobao and Yao Chong looked at each other in shock. After a while, Zhang Xiaobao sighed heavily. Ah! Why are they not working on their economic intelligence system? Why are they here? I guess there is something. It is not clear in the telegram for fear of leaking the secret. Someone, go get some sets of fishing equipment. Fortunately, we are going to stroll by the river. Otherwise, we would have to make a special trip. Wang Wan also sighed. The two of them could still run to Idyll. They must be in good health. According to the records in the book, the two of them had died many years ago. Xiao Bao, Cuckoo, did you miss Grandpa? The two of them did not wait for too long. When they were on the road into the mountains, Bai Go's unique voice sounded. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at Bai Go and Yao Chong and were even more stunned. They were actually riding bicycles. It was obvious that the tires were rubber. Could it be that the two of them rode here from the capital? How tiring. Zhang Xiaobao sighed. If they don't ride all the time, others will be even more tired. The weight of the bicycle is not light, Wang Wan added. Then, she quickly walked up to them. With a creak, Bai Go pinched the front of the bicycle and touched the ground with his left foot. The bicycle drew an arc on the ground and stopped. He played with the wheel for a while. Grandpa Bai, you did a great job. If you do it a few more times on the cement ground, you can change the tire. Zhang Xiaobao walked up to him and helped him hold the handlebars. Bai Go nimbly lifted his leg and got off the bicycle. He shook his head. Cement won't do. I've tried it before. I have to ride fast to shake it off. The friction is too high. Mud is better. There are grains of sand. I can change the sliding into rolling. Zhang Xiaobao, Yao Chong looked much calmer. Mainly because he looked very calm. After getting off the bicycle, he nodded to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, indicating that he was here. Have you eaten? Bai Go swung his arms and asked casually. Yes. Have you two eaten? Zhang Xiaobao was waiting for a reply. If they said that they had not eaten, he would ask someone to cook immediately. Yao Chong said directly, yes. Bai Go said in detail. I had a big bowl of clear soup in the morning. It was made of seaweed. There was a 2-inch long prawn in it. It was very fresh. Actually, I was planning to save some space for lunch. Xiao Bao, guess what I want to eat? Wang Wan immediately said, Grandpa Bai, do you want to eat fish? Did you catch it yourself? Cuckoo is such a sweet girl. I didn't take care of her for nothing when we were young. I was planning to eat that too. Is there a good fishing spot nearby? Bai Go clapped his hands and praised Wang Wan happily. There is a place. Follow us. We will reach it in about 15 minutes. Wang Wan pointed in the direction of the river. In fact, she knew where the river was. It was not like she had never been here before. Zhang Xiaobao went to support Yao Chong. Wang Wan supported Bai Go. They chatted while walking to the river. In Wang Wan's heart, she was very grateful to Bai Go. Without Bai Go's help in the past, it would have taken her a few years to reach her current level. Baigo kept squeezing their family's technology. Zhang Xiaobao lifted the fishing rod and a grass carp weighing about 2 kilograms appeared. Wang Wan helped to pick the fish. She also helped to change the dough of another color and threw it in. In less than a minute, a black fish weighing about 1 kilogram appeared. That's not right. Baigo stared at Zhang Xiaobao's fishing rod. The first one is a grass carp. You can catch it with the dough. The second one is a black fish. Why did you use the dough? How did it bite the hook? Zhang Xiaobao didn't pay attention to fishing. Hearing Baigo's question, he was also puzzled. Wang Wan explained, I put something in the dough. When I put it on the hook, I molded it into the shape of a small fish. Baigo nodded and said to Zhang Xiaobao, Cuckoo is right. Big fish eat small fish. Xiaobao, do you think it's because the big fish is too pitiful or because the small fish is too weak? If there are too many big fish, can the small fish survive? Chapter 1192. Zhang Xiaobao was ready. It would be strange if Baigo didn't discuss business when he was fishing. Hearing Baigo's words, he said, Grandpa Bai is right. If there are big fish, there will be no small fish. Grandpa Bai, do you think the fishers will be happy if they encounter this situation? The fishers will be happy too. Good, that's good, but Xiaobao, can you guarantee that a pond with 1,000 fish of different sizes will end up with 1,000 big fish in the end? If there are only 100 big fish left, the other 900 fish will be gone. Baigo shook the rod twice and raised the hook. He found that the earthworms were gone and the fish were gone. He had to continue hanging the bait. He looked at Zhang Xiaobao and waited for his reply. Yao Chong didn't seem to hear the conversation. He was looking at his float. When the breeze blew, his hair and beard fluttered. He was very relaxed. The others who came with Yao Chong and Baigo stayed far away. They knew that the master had important national affairs to discuss. Mo Baojia looked down on fishing. It depended on who he was fishing with. If he was fishing with Zhang Xiaobao, he would have a big harvest every time. It was much more important than the fish. Zhang Xiaobao pretended to be thinking. In fact, he was thinking about what to cook for lunch. If there were enough fish, he could cook a fish feast. If the result was bad, he had to eat other dishes. He didn't know if his brothers and sisters could eat and sleep well. Until Baigo changed the bait twice, Zhang Xiaobao said under his expectant eyes, how about separating the big fish from the small fish? For example, black fish. Don't let other fish around it. Black fish also eat black fish. Baigo reminded. Yes, it eats its own kind. Then keep each black fish separately. Zhang Xiaobao came up with another idea. Can it still grow up? Won't it starve to death? Xiaobao, tell me something useful. Baigo began to interrogate. He realized that Zhang Xiaobao was just fooling around. He was clearly being careless. Just as Zhang Xiaobao was about to answer, the fishing rod bent and almost slipped out of his hand. He quickly grabbed the fishing rod and shouted at Wang Wan, "Get the net. This fish shouldn't appear in this river. It's so strange." Wang Wan reacted very quickly. With a swish, she put the net into the water, and then the river churned. When the net was lifted up, there was a fat fish that was still struggling inside. After weighing it twice, Wang Wan said, "It's at least 12 pounds. It's not that big. Finally, we have fish head soup to drink. I was thinking of finding a few crucian carps. Save me the trouble." Zhang Xiaobao helped to transfer the fish into another net. He rubbed his hands happily as he placed the fish into the river. Yao Chong, who had been silent all this time, moved his throat. Baigo also swallowed his saliva and said excitedly, "The fish soup made by Xiao Bao is delicious." At noon, a dish was finished. Zhang Xiaobao put the bait again and returned to the topic of fishing. He said to Yao Chong and Baigo, "It's okay for the big fish to eat the small fish, as long as the small fish are not dead and live in the big fish's stomach. Maybe the small fish will eat more water plants than they usually eat. When the big fish and the small fish grow together, the fish farmer will be very happy." After listening to Zhang Xiaobao, Baigo lowered his head and thought for a while. He asked, "Do all the small fish have to be eaten by the big fish? If some small fish are not eaten by the big fish and can't compete with the small fish that are eaten by the big fish, will they starve to death?" "Yes, even the big fish are also dangerous. If they accidentally fall into the shallows, or eat the wrong thing, or even get bitten by other big fish, who can escape the reincarnation of life and death? The flower that never withers is a fake flower." Zhang Xiaobao didn't continue to think this time, because he found that Yao Chong had also caught a black fish. It seemed to be about 3 pounds. At noon, another dish was served. According to the current time, it was absolutely not a problem to catch 8 or 10 more fish. It was enough for an all-fish banquet. Naturally, there was no need to think about lunch. If Baigo knew that Zhang Xiaobao was thinking about lunch, he would probably push Zhang Xiaobao into the river. Which was more important? Talk about fish, don't talk about flowers. Baigo reminded him and let Zhang Xiaobao continue to talk about fish. If they talked about flowers, they would be at a disadvantage. Baigo turned to Wang Wan and said, "Cuckoo, put 2 prawn baskets in the grass so that Xiao Bao can fry them and dip them in salt and pepper. I have never figured out why Xiao Bao's salt and pepper is different from others. It seems to be the same thing." Wang Wan nodded and gestured to the people next to her. She replied, "Because this is an exclusive recipe, a secret ancestral recipe. We are counting on it to make money. Cuckoo, your 3-year-old little nephew likes to eat soft fried tenderloin and hand-grilled mutton. 3 years old. I remember when he taught you and Xiao Bao in the pavilion in Zhuangzi in Sanshui County, you two were about the same age." Baigo started to talk about food and stopped asking Zhang Xiaobao about fish for the time being. He began to recall. Wang Wan did not correct Baigo's statement that there were 2 kinds of dishes in one mouth. She also seemed to recall the past and said with a sweet smile, "That was so good. Grandpa Bai, don't worry. My nephew's stomach will not be short. Later, I will ask someone to send 50 kilograms of salt and pepper to him and seal it in a small bottle. After he finishes eating, you can send a telegram and I will ask someone to send more." Baigo nodded helplessly and asked Zhang Xiaobao, "Xiao Bao, if too many fish die, what should we do with the river? We can't lack fish in the river." Zhang Xiaobao would not tell Baigo that the different taste of salt and pepper was because they had been roasted in the bamboo tube. Otherwise, the whole Tang Empire would know it in a few days. Zhang Xiaobao said, "That's easy. Since you are afraid that there will not be enough fish, you can put more fry first and try not to let them fight for food. If you are afraid that there is not enough food for fish, you can put in crab seedlings and shrimp seedlings. It is not a good thing to have too many fish in a river. Even the river snail has its reason to exist." Baigo did not say anything. He looked at Zhang Xiaobao and waited for him to continue. Zhang Xiaobao calmly pulled up another fish and continued, "The importance of the river lies in the fact that it provides nutrients for everything in the body. Most of the time, there is not much to do, unless there is something that has grown too much and has a problem. Only then will there be a need to do something personally. All the species in the river are a kind of cycle. As long as you maintain it well, the river will not become stagnant and you can use all kinds of things at any time. But I think that the river is very dangerous now. If we don't do something about it, it will easily destroy the bank. Baigo squeezed together the wrinkles on his face and looked very worried. Yao Chong also stopped what he was doing and looked at Zhang Xiaobao, hoping that he could come up with a good idea. Wang Wan glanced at Zhang Xiaobao. She knew that the economic intelligence personnel sent by the old men had recently collected information that there was a problem in the Tang Empire. The main problem should be in three aspects. First, the excessive concentration of material resources. Even though the land had been solved by other policies, other resources were still uncontrollable. Second, the scale of labor. The operation of capital had started to develop in other aspects. Work efficiency had increased and costs had decreased, but it had started to affect the small handicraft industry. When the same thing was produced, the cost of the factory was 2 copper coins. The individual handicraft worker was 4 copper coins. If they sold it for 3 copper coins, the individual would starve to death. Even if they sold it for 4 copper coins, they would just be doing charity for nothing. The third and most important point was the imbalance of income. It was reflected in the difference between employers and employees, between business and other industries, between technical and non-technical jobs, and between resource-rich and resource-poor areas. The first thing that was reflected in the above 3 points was marriage. Animals knew to choose a strong partner when mating, let alone humans. Then there was the relationship between neighbors. The result of not being controlled was that although everyone's lives were much better than before, they still felt that their lives were not as good as before. If the polarization was too severe, it could topple the regime. In truth, there were 2 other points, resource hoarding and price monopoly. However, the merchants did not dare to do so, afraid that if they did, Xiao Bao would get angry and make a move on them. That would truly be a matter of life and death. Even if Xiao Bao did not use administrative means, no merchant had the confidence to say that they were not afraid and clamored to compete with him. Let alone these merchants, even those who knew a lot of things did not dare to play economic games with Xiao Bao. It had to be known that the rules and laws of the various industries had been perfected, and Xiao Bao could still find ways to cheat people. Some people could not be judged by common sense. Those who could become chairmen and presidents were very capable, but those who could become qualified international swindlers were also not free. If there is a war to fight, it will be very easy for Xiao Bao to deal with it, Wang Wan said as she thought about it. War. Oh, so the 2 of you have been waiting for this opportunity. However, the war can only be solved for a while, but not for a lifetime. Baigo suddenly understood. No wonder the 2 of them did not go directly to the front line to launch a huge attack, but instead came to Idyll for a stroll. It turned out that they were waiting for the domestic conflicts to intensify before sending troops. Those who could not find a good job were laborers. The production had to be speeded up, and the consumption of resources would increase. The focus of the people had turned to other aspects. One word, wait. The question is, how long do we have to wait? Baigo did not think that there would be a big problem immediately if they continued in the current situation. It was okay to hold on for 3 to 5 years, or even 8 to 10 years. Wait for the new policy of the imperial court. Zhang Xiaobao did not talk about fish. Which policy? Yao Chong could not help but ask. A series of policies and a basket of plans. The administrative plan will be sent to each county by telegram. The next day after the announcement is made, the roar of the cannon will be heard. Then, the country will be peaceful for a few years. After a few years, when another problem arises, we will solve it. I don't have the ability to solve it once and for all. Zhang Xiaobao freed a hand and pointed in the direction of Duoshe, meaning to hit it. Bai Go could not help but tremble. He looked at Yao Chong, who also showed fear in his eyes. He did not know how ruthless the policy was that they needed to start a war immediately to divert the conflicts. After the war, or in the middle of the war, the Tang Empire is not in a hurry. Isn't there still a problem? Bai Go felt that war could not solve the fundamental problem of the rich becoming richer and the poor becoming poorer and poorer. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head. No, there is no problem. In the middle of the war, we will need manpower, and the kind with high income and low requirements. It is nothing more than the merger of resources, a small matter. As long as it is not necessary for the people's livelihood and land resources, it will not be chaotic. I want to make the rich richer, and then they can raise the wages of the hired workers. Xiao Bao, I admit that you are good, but I don't believe that they will listen to you if you ask them to raise the wages of others, Bai Go said bluntly. Yao Chong also nodded. It is not that they will raise the wages because I ask them to. It is that even if I don't ask them to raise the wages, they will still raise the wages, and it is the kind that is very urgent and cannot be stopped. Zhang Xiaobao replied with certainty. Chapter 1193. Bai Go and Yao Chong look at each other. If the words came out of someone else's mouth, they would have slapped him. How could a rich businessman be so cheap? He has too much money and nowhere to spend it. However, hearing Zhang Xiaobao's words, they have to believe him. They squint their eyes and think about how to make a businessman take the initiative to increase their wages. This is a problem. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan continue to fish in shrimps. After catching a few more fish and feeling that they have enough for lunch, Zhang Xiaobao takes off his clothes and jumps into the river. He dives in and starts to fish for river snails. Maybe the people nearby don't eat river snails, so there are a lot of them in the river. After a while, a large basin of river snails is thrown on the shore. Someone comes to pick up the basin and sprinkles a layer of fine salt to let the river snail spit out the mud. As soon as Zhang Xiaobao comes ashore, he is covered with a cloth. When the cloth is removed, Zhang Xiaobao has changed into a pair of shorts. Good, we have a good meal for lunch. With ginger and garlic juice, chopped green onions and coriander foam, we can drink 2 cups of yellow wine. It's better than the gods. Bai Go feels that he has come up with a way to increase people's wages. When he comes back to his senses, he sees a lot of river snails and says a dish. There is a dish for lunch, fried spicy river snails. Zhang Xiaobao says the name of a dish. Eat it raw. Yao Chong, who also comes back to his senses, supports Bai Go. Grandpa Bai, Grandpa Yao, listen to Xiao Bao. If you eat it raw, you may get infected with parasites. If you really want to eat it raw, let people get more from the river. After a few days, you can eat it after screening. Wang Wan quickly persuades them. She is afraid that the 2 old men will die from eating it. Even if there are no parasites, there are some bacteria in the river snails. If they accidentally eat it, they will be tortured half to death. Yao Chong and Bai Go sigh at the same time. Obviously, they just want to eat something raw. It seems that they didn't have a good time on the road. The 2 of them had been living in Sanshui County for a long time, so their stomachs had long adapted to the local environment. Changing places made them uncomfortable, so they wanted to eat raw food to nourish their appetites and fight poison with poison. There should be some in the restaurants in the city. Let's go back and cook a meal for the 2 elders. Zhang Xiaobao thought that his own restaurant would have some in stock to satisfy the 2 old men. Bai Go was overjoyed. He nodded excitedly. Good, good, we can still see the little ones. It's lively. The little ones aren't with you. I went to Mount Wenshan in Maozhou first. If you're not busy, you can come back in a few days. Zhang Xiaobao had already put on his clothes when he spoke. He sat down again and continued fishing. There's no hurry. We're a bunch of old farts. We just want to give you and Cuckoo a hand. My old arms and legs can't bear the burden of marching and fighting, but I can still help pick vegetables and cook, as long as you don't think we're a burden. Bai Go explained the purpose of his visit. From his words, it seemed that there were still people on the way. Oh, who dares to say that you can't help? If His Majesty finds out that you're only in charge of washing vegetables and cooking, he'll punish me. With you guys here, I'm relieved. I originally wanted to let the people of the inner yard take care of that, but I was worried that they couldn't shoulder the heavy burden at such a young age. With you guys here, the big problem is solved. Zhang Xiaobao quickly flattered. With a group of old men, the inner yard could spare some people to do other things. How could the people who came with Bai Go and Yao Chong be ordinary? Any one of them could easily deal with the problems of a province or a prefecture. Ha ha. Bai Go laughed happily. He was not modest at all and looked full of confidence. Yao Chong was also happy. He squeezed his wrinkles and said, "We just came back because of you and Cuckoo. If it were others, they wouldn't have such a big face." That's right, that's right. Others can't compare to me and Cuckoo. On the way, should I send someone to welcome them? Zhang Xiaobao was worried about the old men walking behind them. Bai Go waved his hand and said, "No need. It's not that they can't keep up. They were traveling and saw this broken bridge and insisted on painting. Why can't they understand that painting is more important or coming early to eat good food? Then you brought people here and didn't help to repair the broken bridge." Zhang Xiaobao felt that it was immoral to treat a broken bridge as a scenery when they saw it. Repair what? There's a new bridge next to it, but they say that the broken bridge is good. If the broken bridge is good, why would the locals build a new bridge? They see the broken bridge as a beautiful scenery, but the people from the new bridge see them as fools, Yao Chong said disdainfully. Don't mention them, don't mention them. Let them wander behind. Their worldview is too small. The scenery they see on the road is just a corner. With Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, they taste the delicacies of the world and see the world scenery. They say that the broken bridge and flowing water reflect the mortal world, but I write about the smoke of war and the flames of war. Bai Go made a dough with his hands and sighed. Yao Chong saw that there was enough fish and was not in the mood to fish anymore. He casually threw the hook into the river and put his other hand on his knee. He said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Should we ask His Majesty to write a decree into the law and order employers everywhere to raise their wages?" Zhang Xiaobao shook his head. "No, the prosperity of different places is different. How do we set wages? According to the situation of each place. The people will definitely migrate in large numbers. It's complicated and can't be solved in a few years. I can't wait." "I know." Bai Go said. Xiao Bao issued an order to all the merchants in the Tang Empire to raise their wages. Anyone who disobeys will be dealt with. "Grandpa Bai, do you think I'm so useless that I need to use threats to achieve my goals?" Zhang Xiaobao mumbled. "Threats are also a kind of ability. I want to threaten them, but they're not afraid. Did you forget what happened in the capital during the New Year? The prices of all kinds of things skyrocketed. Once the rumors spread, the prices fell." Bai Go smiled at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao gritted his teeth. "I really didn't say that anyone can't raise their wages during the New Year. And the rumors didn't come from the people. I was tricked by His Majesty and can't clarify it. If I really told others that I don't object to the price increase, the price would go out of control that day. It's like forcing a cow to drink water. If you sell me, I'll have to help you count the money. I'll gladly do it. Wang Wan smiled and leaned on Zhang Xiaobao. She had a blissful expression because she knew that Zhang Xiaobao was not threatened at all. Even if he was tricked, he would still endure it. It was all for the sake of the greater good. Ha ha ha, that's why I said that Xiaobao and Cuckoo are good kids. Speaking of which, the world is very interesting. More than a decade ago, the people didn't have a good life, but they could still live a stable life. Now that their lives are better, the people's hearts are wavering. When the national treasury was poor, they worried. When they had money, they still worried. Probably only His Majesty is in the best mood. Before we came, the palace was being renovated. The old single-story palaces were all being torn down and replaced with the lowest four-story palaces. The officials wanted to persuade them but didn't know how to open their mouths. His Majesty is using the internal treasury. Not only is he building the inner palace, but he's also building the offices of the various departments. If this was 15 years ago, would His Majesty dare to do this? Xiao Bao, if His Majesty is good, His Majesty must be good too. Bai Gou's tone changed as he spoke. His meaning was very clear. It was Xiao Bao who helped His Majesty earn the internal treasury, which was no less than the national treasury's income. Otherwise, how could His Majesty be so rich? Zhang Xiaobao smacked his lips twice. He was not embarrassed at being criticized at all. Instead, he was very proud. He raised his chin to Wang Wan, who was leaning on his shoulder, and said, "Madam, you talk to the two grandpas. I'm leaning on you to rest for a while, but you don't let me feel comfortable." Wang Wan rolled her eyes at Zhang Xiaobao discontentedly. She sat up straight and smiled at the two old men. She said, "The palace is only so big. Building tall buildings is a reasonable use of land. If all the villages in the Tang Empire have more than 4-story buildings, there will be a lot more land. Am I right?" The two old men didn't say anything, which was a tacit agreement. Wang Wan said again, "When His Majesty builds the palace, he pays for the materials and wages. He never takes credit. The suppliers of the materials benefit, the workers benefit, and the officials benefit. When His Majesty is happy, he also benefits. In other words, when a part of the money is spent, everyone will be happy. How can he be happy when the money is spent?" Bai Gou felt that Wang Wan's words were twisted logic. "You mean that he will be happy if he doesn't spend the money? Later, I'll ask someone to put 100,000 strings of cash on the table. Grandpa Bai, look at the money, stare at it, and you will smile." As Wang Wan spoke, she smiled. She thought of a joke from many years ago. There was a crosstalk comedian who said this. Bai Gou frowned and said, "I'm not stupid. Why would I smile when I look at your money? You can ask your family to take out the money and put it in front of you. You will smile when you look at it." Wang Wan said. "Ha!" Yao Chong laughed and patted Bai Gou's shoulder. "You've been tricked by Cuckoo. Now, what we're talking about is not whether to smile when looking at the money, but whether His Majesty should be thrifty. His Majesty's money is earned by Xiao Bao. Without Xiao Bao, His Majesty will not be extravagant. If His Majesty is not extravagant, the officials will not imitate him. If the officials do not imitate him, the people will live in peace. Ah! According to Grandpa Yao, I deserve to die. But if His Majesty doesn't build houses, the officials don't build houses, and the people don't build houses either. No one has a house to live in. If His Majesty doesn't eat meat, everyone will be vegetarians. If His Majesty doesn't make new clothes, everyone in the Tang Empire will have to wear ragged clothes. In other words, my act of helping His Majesty earn money has allowed the people of the Tang Empire to live a good life. Zhang Xiaobao described himself as a good person according to Yao Chong's words. Hearing Zhang Xiaobao's words, Bai Shu and Yao Chong laughed again and nodded. Xiaobao, you are right. It is because of you and Cuckoo that the people of the Tang Empire live a good life. Otherwise, why would the people treat you so well? Tell me about the solution to increase wages and solve the unbalanced distribution of resources. After joking, Bai Shu, who was in a better mood, asked another question that he did not understand. Zhang Xiaobao continued to shake his head. I can't say. I have to wait for the imperial court to issue a decree. If I say it in advance, it will be easy for someone to take advantage of me. I can talk about the local arrangements first. Please listen and give me some advice. Chapter 1194. Li Longji had a sullen expression when he spoke, but then he blinked his eyes and smiled at Wu Huifei and Empress Wang, who were also looking at him. It's good to get used to it. Last time, I finally found a way to scheme against Xiaobao. This method can still be used often. Let's not talk about the distance. As long as the price of goods in the capital fluctuates slightly, I will immediately order people to release the news. He definitely won't dare to stand out and deny it. Thinking about it makes me happy. Wu Huifei and Empress Wang were helpless. The emperor seemed to become a different person when he met Xiaobao. Even if he took advantage of him a little, he would still be happy. Your Majesty, where can we go to play this summer and autumn? Wu Huifei suddenly asked Li Longji. Li Longji muttered to himself for a moment and shook his head. I don't think we can go out this year. Haven't you noticed that the soldiers in various places are frequently mobilized? Other than the spring plowing that is still going on, the other industries are showing signs of stopping. I need to stay in the capital. Speaking of which, this concubine also doesn't understand. It's just fighting and eating. The imperial court has been training soldiers in the northwest for a long time. In addition, they have a large number of soldiers there. They can just force their way in. Why do they need to mobilize the soldiers of other provinces? The soldiers of the Jiangnan circuit are being mobilized, and they still need soldiers from other places to replenish them. Could it be that they want to fight Japan and Xinluo? Wu Huifei knew very little about military matters. When she recalled the past, she had never encountered a situation where the government troops of the interior followed them around when they were fighting a faraway land. If not for the fact that Xiaobao and Cuckoo, two people, did not take any action despite the fact that there were so many opportunities to assassinate them, she would have thought that they were going to rebel. Li Longji closed his eyes and didn't speak. It seemed that he didn't want to explain the national affairs clearly to the people in the palace. Wu Huifei could only look at Empress Wang. She had a chance to get rid of her and seize the position of the head of the harem. She was also protected by Xiaobao and Cuckoo at that time. She was looking forward to getting some information from her. After all, she was born in a family of generals and had helped the emperor rebel. The current Empress Wang looked much weaker than before. Her skin was white and smooth, and her face was dignified. She gave people the impression that she was a normal woman guarding the harem. In fact, she was more and more fond of military affairs. This was because, according to Wang Wan, a woman who had nothing else to do would always be neglected by a busy man. A happy woman had to make her voice heard from time to time, especially around a man's career. Even if she said something wrong occasionally, it was fine. If you were by the emperor's side, you would need to know the military and know the politics. Otherwise, when the emperor made a wise decision and you were at a loss when he told you, wouldn't you be depriving the emperor of the opportunity to show off? Therefore, you must understand. Occasionally, you will make a mistake, or ask a few silly questions. The Emperor will explain it to you, and you will naturally be in a good mood. Empress Wang deeply agreed with this theory, therefore, whenever there was a resolution in the imperial court, she would send a letter to Wang Wan for consultation, to obtain a solution, understand the method, and then use it on His Majesty when they were chatting in the palace. Seeing Wu Huifei look over, Empress Wang showed a warm smile. She put down the book in her hand and said to her, "You think the palace is boring." In the middle of summer, the large amusement park in the suburbs of the capital will open. Why don't you go with me? Most of them are children. I won't go. Wu Huifei refused. If she went there, she would be surrounded by guards. Everyone knew her identity, so who would she play with? Looking at you is like looking at animals in a zoo. Then let's go to Sanshui County. It's safe there, and we don't have to worry about being surrounded. Empress Wang had just thought of this when she made a new suggestion. But His Majesty in the palace. Wu Huifei was moved, but she had other concerns. Empress Wang waved her hand indifferently and said, "It's fine. His Majesty has been busy recently, so he goes to sleep at night. Besides, there are other people looking after him." Empress Wang had learned this from Cuckoo. She said that you can't always be around a man. After a long time, the man will forget you. Find an opportunity to look at him for a while, then the man will find that a habit around him has been broken, then he will remember you. But you have to control the situation well. Don't let the man worry, otherwise he will easily run to other people to vent his thoughts. However, she still didn't understand why Cuckoo didn't want to be apart from Xiao Bao for a while. When Li Longji heard this, he stopped writing, raised his head, and said, "Go, go. Only when you get there will there be people who will sincerely communicate with you. The local roast duck has always been different from the ones outside. I will be very busy recently." Last night, the Ministry of Works sent news that the film that can be used to make this thing called movie has been successfully made. It is now being tested and played in sync with the sound. For the sake of the people of my dynasty, I can only work hard. I can't say how helpless I am. Empress Wang and Wu Huifei looked at the Emperor's face that didn't show any helplessness. Instead, there was a faint excitement on his face. They hesitated again. They also wanted to work hard for the sake of the people of Tang. Why don't we film it together? Empress Wang suggested. I'll test the water first. I'll put it in a few places in Tang and see the effect first. Li Longji planned to release his image first. Wu Huifei was helpless. She thought for a while and said, "I think the glass film that was used for Xiaobei and the others is very good. It has color." I heard Xiao Bao and Cuckoo say that the new thing called film has no color. Empress Wang said, "Cuckoo said that if you are willing, you can invest more. She and Xiao Bao will put in a lot of effort. Basically, it can be done in one step. However, it's not good for the researchers of the Ministry of Works. They can only walk and run when they have a firm footing." Cuckoo said that she and Xiao Bao know a lot of things. However, when it's used on the technicians, it can only guarantee that they won't take the wrong path. It won't let them fly directly. Sister, you've been fooled by them. They are flying. Sister, you don't know. A few days ago, when I asked Meow Meow to go to the Ministry of Works to ask for things to wash clothes, guess what she saw? Wu Huifei asked with her eyes wide open. What? Empress Wang's eyes also widened. Why did you go to the Ministry of Works to ask for things to wash clothes? Minister Zhang has good things there. My red clothes were stained with something green. It can't be washed off. It's my favorite one. Their family specially sent a few pieces to the palace. It's a pity to throw them away. I thought that the Ministry of Works should have a solution. Meow Meow went to Minister Zhang. Minister Zhang was busy with other things and gave Meow Meow a pass. Meow Meow entered the circle outside the Ministry of Works herself. Did you wash off the things you brought? Empress Wang asked expectantly. I washed them off. The green ones were washed off, and the red ones were washed off as well. I can't wear them anymore. I plan to get someone to change my clothes. Elder sister, this person is really strange. In the past, I didn't have much spare money. I always wanted to wear new clothes, as if wearing old ones was beneath my status. Now that I can't use up all my money, I don't care. It's fine as long as the clothes fit me. When I eat, I don't need to eat too many dishes. It's fine as long as they are delicious. Wu Huifei frowned when she talked about washing off the color of the clothes. However, when she talked about her own changes, she was enraptured. Empress Wang agreed. Yes, yes. According to Cuckoo, if you have money, you have confidence. If you have confidence, you can do whatever you want. Look at Xiao Bei's pants. Because he always runs around, he has a cut on his knee. He had someone sew a pocket on it. Now, many children wear pants with pockets sewn on their knees. Also, Xiao Bao's father, Zhang Shangshu, is always busy. Every day, he has to go to the Ministry of Works research area to change his original green clothes. His elbows are whitened. Thus, many people in Beijing wear green clothes. They don't look good at all. They even deliberately use things to whiten their elbows. Yes. Li Longji also interrupted. That's because no one thinks that the Zhang family and the Wang family can't afford to wear clothes. When Xiao Bei and the others eat outside, they pack up the leftovers and take them back. Who dares to look down on them? The poorer they are, the more generous they are. The more inferior they are, the more flamboyant they are. After lamenting, Li Longji thought of something important. He asked, in the future, you are not allowed to send people into the Ministry of Works research area, even the periphery. I'll talk to Zhang Zhong later. What did Meow Meow see over there? Yes, yes. Let's not talk about washing clothes first. Empress Wang also reacted. At the mention of this, Wu Huifei looked unhappy. It was as if someone owed her money and didn't want to return it. She frowned and said, Meow Meow saw something even more interesting than the telegram. Meow Meow said that when she greeted the people at the periphery and told them the reason, that person directly picked up something on the table and shouted, I'm the chief dispatcher of the Light Industry Materials Logistics Department. I want them to send a bottle of strong cleaning agent. Then, Meow Meow heard a voice saying understood. Not long after, a bottle of something was sent over. What is that thing? Empress Wang asked in shock. I don't know, but I definitely dare to say that that thing must be talking to someone else. We're using a telegram now, so how can it talk? There's only a ticking sound. Sister, do you think it flew or not? The telegram is already amazing enough, but there's actually something that can talk. Wu Huifei looked very depressed. Li Longji was also depressed. He lowered his head and thought about something. As he thought, he angrily threw his pen on the rack and shouted outside, find that guy Zhang Zhong for me. The sound of running footsteps could be heard outside. Wu Huifei and Empress Wang weren't in the mood to read. They sat up straight and waited with Li Longji. If they didn't understand this matter, they wouldn't be able to sleep well at night. After waiting for a full 15 minutes, Zhang Zhong's small figure appeared at the bottom of the stairs outside the hall. As he got closer, his figure gradually grew bigger. The three people in the hall looked out at the same time and were stunned. They saw that Zhang Zhong, who was wearing tight work clothes today, had an extra big thing on his body. To be precise, there were two. One was in his hand, and the other was in front of his chest with a strap. There was also a microphone and a loudspeaker. As he walked, his mouth moved. When they reached the top of the stairs and stood in front of the door, Zhang Zhong looked at the three people apologetically and signaled for them to wait. I'll say it again. Don't fill up the small river behind. Don't. Put a big water tank next to it. Get the diesel generator and water pumping equipment ready. The warehouse in that place is very important. If it's burned, I'll cut off your heads. Over. After Zhang Zhong finished speaking, he pressed something on the box in front of his chest. 3 seconds later, a voice came from the loudspeaker hanging on his chest. We understand. We promise that we won't let the materials suffer any damage. We'll do as you say. Over. Zhang Zhong pressed something on the box in his hand again, and then on the box in front of his chest. After a while, he said into the loudspeaker, the materials are important, but the people are more important. If there's any danger, the people will run first. You can leave the materials behind. If you dare to save the materials and get into danger, I'll deal with your families. Don't think that I'm just scaring you. All right, His Majesty is waiting for me. Over. After pressing something on the box in front of his chest again, Zhang Zhong let out a long breath. He then said to Li Longji, who was waiting in the hall, His Majesty, why did you summon me here? Chapter 1195. At this moment, Li Longji's eyes were fixed on the boxes in Zhang Zhong's hands and hanging in front of his chest. He didn't say a word. Your Majesty, Your Majesty. Your Majesty, are you feeling unwell? Zhang Zhong asked with concern. Li Longji exhaled deeply, shook his head, and waved at Zhang Zhong. Come forward. When Zhang Zhong was about 10 steps away from Li Longji looked at the two boxes again and asked, what were you doing just now? Zhang Zhong first placed the boxes in his hands on the ground, then placed the boxes hanging around his neck on the ground. He shook his arms and said helplessly, isn't this a new project set up by the Research Institute? This place has just been built, and all kinds of materials have been piled together. I was afraid that they would accidentally damage them, so I had to remind them. These things are very important, and the production is very low. It is difficult to produce 1 out of every 100 pieces. You really can't stop worrying. I can't be too harsh with my words. If something really happens and they put themselves in danger to protect the item, Xiao Bao and Huan Huan will be worried to death. I'm asking what you said just now. Li Longji stopped talking about himself and asked anxiously. Just like that. Your Majesty, look. One is a radio transmitter, and the other is a semiconductor receiver. Zhang Zhong pointed at the two boxes. In other words, you can directly communicate with the Ministry of Works research base from Hanyuan Palace Hall. Li Longji asked again. Zhang Zhong nodded. Yes, it's very convenient. If you have any instructions, you can directly send it over. It's similar to a telegram, but a telegram can't be spoken. With this subject has been much less worried recently. Your Majesty, you don't know. Your Majesty, Your Majesty. What's wrong with you? Li Longji's face was ashen. Wu Huifei and Empress Wang were also fuming. For a moment, Zhang Zhong didn't know what to do. He wondered what he had done wrong to make His Majesty angry. But what did this have to do with the Empress and Wu Huifei? Who were they angry at? Your Majesty, let's talk business. Wu Huifei was the first to calm down. Li Longji nodded and rubbed his face. His complexion was much better now. He said to Zhang Zhong, "Find a place to sit." Zhang Zhong did not stand on ceremony. Seeing that the nearest stool was more than 10 steps away, he decided to sit on the floor. He was wearing his work uniform anyway. Composing himself, Li Longji looked at Zhang Zhong and said, "Yongqing, the Ministry of Works has been busy recently, and you have to worry about a lot of things. Thank you for your hard work. Your Majesty, this is what I have to do. It is not hard work. Although I am tired, I am willing to do it. Our dynasty's industry has just been established, our foundation is thin, we spend a lot of money, but the results are few. This subject is often worried that I will drag down the great Tang's industrial construction, so I once asked my son for advice. Xiao Bao consoled me and said, "This is urgent, wait patiently, and you will know in the future." After Zhang Zhong finished speaking, he thought for a moment and then pressed a button on the box that he had been carrying earlier. Only when he heard the rustling sound from inside did he feel relieved. Li Longji and the other two followed Zhang Zhong's movements. Seeing that Zhang Zhong did not do anything else, they retracted their gazes. "Yongqing, we have been thinking about Xiao Bei and the others for the past few days. Without them, we feel that there is a lot less fun around us." Li Longji mentioned Xiao Bei again. Zhang Zhong nodded. This subject's heart is also empty. Fortunately, there is Ji Xiang and Rui, who are noisy all day long. Together with your Majesty's Panner siblings, my heart is at peace. Why don't we place them by your Majesty's side? Leave them with you, leave them with you. Li Longji waved his hand as if they were not people, but objects. Seeing that the emperor had a sad expression, he said, "We can go over and take a look. There is a lot of construction going on in the palace, and there is no place to put them." "That's fine too." Zhang Zhong followed along. "Yongqing, when we talk about Xiao Bei and the others, can you guess what we remember? We remember when they were still young. At that time, we remember that they had a house. Am I right?" Li Longji seemed to be reminiscing. Zhang Zhong also revealed an expression of reminiscence and said with a smile, "That's right. At that time, they were still young. They had a big house. It was only a single story, so it couldn't compare to an ordinary house. However, in terms of overall appearance, it was much better than an ordinary house. The entire house was made of agarwood." "Oh, right, we remember now. Is the house well maintained?" Li Longji continued Zhang Zhong's words. "Good, it's very good." Zhang Zhong replied. "How could it not be good? The house was made of agarwood. If the entire house was sold, it would be equivalent to a third of the Great Tang's national treasury 20 years ago. None of the pearls and other accessories inside were cheap. At the very least, there was so much transparent glass 20 years ago. Good, it's good that the house is still there. Back then, we weren't the only ones who thought that it was good. Long Zhe also thought that the little one's house wasn't bad. That house isn't ordinary. Other than the fact that it can't fly, it should be able to adapt to other terrains, right?" Li Longji continued to speak casually. Zhang Zhong was taken aback. He suddenly remembered who Long Zhe was. Bigu, that old man was always eyeing his house. Not only did he eat and stay for free, he even made his son and daughter-in-law chat with him. "Is that so?" Li Longji asked. It's still all right. Actually, it can fly even if it wants to now. We just need to release more hot air balloons." Zhang Zhong's reply was very honest. Li Longji sighed heavily. "That's right. The little ones in your house are the luckiest. Ever since I was young, I've never had such a house. There are those who use agarwood to make tables, stools, paperweights, and all kinds of small ornaments. I've never heard of anyone using agarwood to make a house. This was especially so when I heard Long Zhe say that if one wanted to know the extent of Great Tang's technology, one only had to look at the houses of the children of Zhang Zhong and Wang. I know that as well, but I can't criticize the children. Thus, I can only bear with the fact that you didn't let me use the good technology. However, if you don't let me use the technology that you have already used, how can I feel good about it? Don't you think so? Li Longji's final words were directed at Wu Huifei and Empress Wang. Empress Wang was too embarrassed to speak, so she only replied with an "un." Wu Huifei didn't care too much and sighed as well. Speaking of which, this concubine's heart aches the most for the eunuchs and palace maids in the palace. The new eunuchs are all congenital castrated, unlike in the past where the parents had to abandon their children. Now, the eunuchs in the family aren't thrown away but sent to the palace instead. As for the palace maids, they are the ladies of normal families, so who wouldn't feel bad for them? However, they have to run far away just because of a decree from His Majesty or to summon a certain official. More importantly, if there's an emergency, wouldn't it be too late for them to run over and wait for the official to arrive? If a certain palace maid suddenly fell ill and couldn't breathe properly, she would need an imperial physician. If there's a delay, she might lose her life. Am I right? After Wu Huifei finished speaking, the three of them all looked at Zhang Zhong. Zhang Zhong nodded vigorously and understood. When his son and daughter-in-law arrived in Feng Province and saw the technicians, they remembered how difficult it was for them to communicate with the Ministry of Works. They had temporarily used various tools on the ship to make a telephone and a radio transmitter and receiver. The Ministry of Works hadn't thoroughly researched them yet, so they were discovered by His Majesty first. Moving the two boxes forward, Zhang Zhong pointed at the one that had been hung in front of him and said, "This is a receiver that mainly uses semiconductors." He then pointed at the other one and said, "This is a radio transmitter. The principle is to first fix the frequency and then send out the radio. Someone in the Ministry of Works research base uses semiconductors to receive it. To prevent signal interference, I turn off the radio and turn on the semiconductor receiver. The Ministry of Works research base sends out the radio and I receive it. As for the specific principle, to be honest, I don't know. It was made in Feng Province by my son and Cuckoo. There are only 2 sets. In addition, there is also a type of telephone. It is wired. Wherever it goes, the sound will go. The prerequisite is that there is electricity. When I go back, I will first pull the phone line over. Your Majesty, you don't need the wireless radio because there are too few channels. If too many people use it, it will easily leak secrets." After the introduction, Zhang Zhong let out a sigh of relief. He thought it was something big, but it turned out that it was just a communication tool. He didn't find it troublesome to go around in a big circle. Treasure. Li Longji got up and walked in front of the box. He reached out and touched the buttons, but he didn't dare to touch them. He was afraid that he would accidentally break them. It must be very difficult for the people in the Ministry of Works research base to make such a miraculous object, right? Li Longji imagined himself as a researcher. For a moment, he didn't know where to start. He didn't even dare to think about it. "It was made by my son and Cuckoo," Zhang Zhong reminded him. "My son? Yes, he is very bad. Since he could do it, why did he make it for you and not me? If Li Shi knew, he would be very sad. Has the Ministry of Works made it as well?" Li Longji pulled someone who wasn't present to blame Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Zhong shook his head regretfully. The technicians can only piece the parts together, but they don't understand the principles behind it. When Xiaobao and Cuckoo sent it over a few days ago, the technicians realized that the triode could be used for communication. They still have a lot to learn. As he spoke, Zhang Zhong began to worry. The people in the Ministry of Works were very hard-working, but no matter how hard they learned, they couldn't keep up with Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's demands. From time to time, the two of them would send over some information and research ideas to guide and inspire the technicians. Li Longji reluctantly retracted his hand. Since Xiao Bao and Cuckoo can make it, why didn't they do it earlier? They waited until you needed it before they were willing to do it. What benefit does it bring to Great Tang? Your Majesty, the two of them are also slowly researching it. Cuckoo is the one who put in the most effort. Furthermore, their research needs the support of other people's research. If they can't forge good steel, they can't propose to build diesel engines. If they can't solve the problem of spark plugs, how can gasoline engines be ignited? They took out a bunch of ideas and requirements for the researchers to study and create things. They then proposed new ideas and requirements based on the new things that appeared. Xiao Bao said that the current wireless communication can be simpler, but he and Cuckoo can't do it. They have to wait for the Ministry of Works to understand the technology. Then, they will issue a guideline and let the researchers do it. The industry isn't something that can be solved by one or two people. After saying this, Zhang Zhong felt thirsty. He looked up and saw a cup of herbal tea on the table. He walked over and drank it in one gulp. He wiped his mouth and said, "It's actually Tiguanyin. If I had known, I wouldn't have drunk it. It's easy to get a stomachache." Li Longji lowered his head and pondered, ignoring Zhang Zhong who drank his tea. Empress Wang, on the other hand, signaled to the palace maid standing at the door and asked her to bring Longjing tea. When the new tea was brought, Li Longji took a cup and said, "It's really hard on Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. If it weren't for other people, they would have taken flight long ago. Why do they have to stop and wait for every step they take? Just like the futuristic military stories Cuckoo wrote, there's a country thousands of miles away that provokes me. I just need to sit in the hall and there's something like a movie in front of me, and I can see that country. Then, I reach out and point. Half an hour later, that country is in a sea of fire. No one is left alive, not even a blade of grass." "Yes, yes." Empress Wang also said excitedly. He also said that someone from another country stabbed our Chao Zimin in the Tang Empire. Our Chao Zimin took out something from his pocket and instantly contacted His Majesty, saying that he had been stabbed. While His Majesty sent people to treat him, he tapped on the screen in front of him and found that the person had just rowed a boat and escaped into the sea. His Majesty tapped on the screen, and a pillar of light shone down from the 9 heavens. Both the person and the boat disappeared. This is a true attacker, able to move above the 9 heavens. Unfortunately, this is all a dream. The thing that person took out could be contacted instantly, unless... At this point, Empress Wang was stunned. Li Longji and Wu Huifei were also stunned. Their eyes were fixed on the 2 boxes on the ground, and then they turned to look at Zhang Zhong, who was about to drink his tea. Zhang Zhong also stopped what he was doing and swallowed hard. Could it be? Could it be? Chapter 1196. Zhang Zhong didn't say what it was. Li Longji and the other 2 felt chills run down their spines. This was especially true for Li Longji, whose heart had turned cold. He had always been told that there was a country that was very powerful. In the beginning, he had his doubts, but as the hot air balloons, telegraph machines, cannons, steam engines, diesel engines, and gasoline engines were produced, he began to believe it. But today, when he joked about the story that 2 people had once told him, he saw the wireless communication box in front of him, and a special sense of urgency began to grow in his heart. He couldn't help but look up at the sky and murmur, "Orders come from thousands of li away. attacks come from above the 9 heavens. This is not a story. Definitely not. I'll have someone get the phone line immediately. In the future, working in the palace will be much more convenient. Zhang Zhong put down his teacup and crouched down to turn on the radio. Li Longji grabbed Zhang Zhong's hand and said earnestly, Yongqing, while you're at it, tell the technicians in the Ministry of Works to work harder. Tell them to follow in the footsteps of Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. We'll give them promotions. We don't want to be beaten without being able to retaliate one day. At the very least, we should be able to defend ourselves. Zhang Zhong said awkwardly, Your Majesty, do you think that's possible? In his heart, his son and daughter-in-law were little immortals bestowed upon him by the heavens. Who could follow in the footsteps of immortals? If they can follow in the footsteps, then it's better than nothing. Are those 2 people in your family willing to raise a few more children like Xiao Bao and Cuckoo? Li Longji asked expectantly. Xiao Bei, Xiao Yuan, and the others can't. Zhang Zhong knew what the emperor was talking about. The excuse that his family used to deceive outsiders was something that the outsiders came up with themselves. Li Longji had a bitter taste in his mouth, and the wrinkles on his face piled up. He said, the little guys are powerful, but compared to Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, they're not even close. When Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were at Xiao Bei's age, they were, right? Then Your Majesty, how many children like Xiao Bao and Cuckoo do you think our great Tang can choose from? Zhang Zhong asked in embarrassment. 1. I can't even choose one. Zhang Zhong, why didn't your families have 8 children each? You count the days, count them carefully. The time they were born and the time I ascended the throne, were they bestowed by the heavens? Even if you gave birth to 2 children at once, it would still be better than now. You only gave birth to 1, just 1. It's all because your families reduced the number of treasures that the heavens bestowed upon me. Do you admit your sins? Li Longji grabbed Zhang Zhong's hand and roared. I admit my sins, this subject admits his sins. Your Majesty, please calm down. This subject will have someone set up a phone line and relay your decree. Zhang Zhong was frightened and hurriedly comforted him. Now was not the time to argue about who was bestowed the treasure. After venting his anger, Li Longji calmed down and let go of Zhang Zhong's hand. He nodded. The 3 of them watched as Zhang Zhong contacted the Research Institute and relayed the order. They were still in a daze. Your Majesty, this subject still has some documents to write. If there's nothing else, this subject will take his leave. Zhang Zhong pointed at the door. Go. Thank you, Minister Zhang. Li Longji waved his hand and watched as Zhang Zhong rehung the box and sent it out of the hall. Only when Zhang Zhong's figure disappeared from the range of Hanyuan Palace Hall did he turn around and walk to the back of the table. He collapsed into a chair. Wu Huifei and Empress Wang were speechless. Worry could be seen on their faces. The hall was silent for half an hour before Li Longji's voice sounded. What time is it? Empress Wang raised her wrist and looked at the mechanical watch on it. She replied, It's 1:15 noon. No wonder you're hungry. Let's go to Savant's restaurant. This emperor wants to eat the Mandarin duck pot. Li Longji didn't want to eat in the palace. He rubbed his stomach and got up to leave. Wu Huifei followed up and asked, What side dishes does your Majesty need? This concubine will order someone first. Just make 2 cold plates, not too much. It would be a pity to throw them away if we can't finish them. I wonder what Xiao Bao and the others ate for lunch. Longze and Yuanji should have arrived by now. Li Longji suddenly thought of what others ate. Wu Huifei nodded. If they really arrived, they would definitely eat fish at noon. They caught it themselves. Your Majesty, they have already retired, but they still have to organize people to gather intelligence. If this goes on for a long time, I'm afraid it will shake their foundation. Empress Wang cooperated and said, exactly. If we don't restrict them, they will bring disaster to the world. It doesn't matter. They are now collecting economic information. This emperor can still use them. Bring disaster to the world. Could it be that they dare to rebel? If someone really wants to use their intelligence to do something bad, I don't even need to say anything. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo will directly put them on Zhuke Street. If they want to rebel, they can't do it alone, right? If they need an army, logistics, and incite the people, do you think that with the reputation of Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, which people will follow them? The matter of the two Taoists in Jiangnan has just passed. Even if there are people who don't care about their good, they have to consider their ruthlessness. Li Longji didn't care. Compared to an attack from thousands of miles away, a mere economic intelligence organization was nothing. With only 100 or so Jinwu guards, Li Longji, Wu Huifei, and Empress Wang slowly strolled to Savant's restaurant. Along the way, they kept waving at the people. Then, they felt that it was a waste to bring more than 100 guards because the people consciously stood 50 steps away from them. At the same time, they looked at the people around them vigilantly. They didn't walk forward, but they also stopped others from coming forward to avoid hurting the emperor. The only people Li Longji came in contact with were two children who squeezed in. He hugged them and kissed them, and they were considered close to the people. With so many people, if anyone wants to rebel, I will tire them to death. Sitting at the table, Li Longji said proudly. Empress Wang and Wu Huifei nodded in agreement. It was indeed not easy to rebel. At this time, the hot pot was also served. The exhaust fan was turned on, and the charcoal was burned. The chicken soup and the seafood base looked clear, but the smell of the soup filled the air. On the other side was bright red chili, and the fragrance was rich. 8 large basins filled with cold dishes were placed at the side, and 8 large plates were placed on the table. Li Longji was about to say that it was a waste, but he suddenly understood that they asked you to use a plate to fill the big basins. Look, in the world, only their restaurant dares to ask me to do it myself. Li Longji picked up a plate and began to choose the cold dishes. It's only comfortable to eat in their restaurant. Empress Wang also picked up a plate. If only Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were here. There are hundreds of seasonings, and it's really difficult to choose. If Xiao Bao was here, he would help to adjust the seasonings according to the season and climate. It's lively with a group of little guys, but what about Panner and the others? Wu Huifei couldn't sit and wait for the emperor to work, so she stood up and picked wine from the wine cabinet. She said a few words and asked Empress Wang's children. The waiter standing at the door immediately replied, "They have eaten and are sleeping." "Have your masters eaten the mandarin duck pot recently?" "The masters have eaten it, but the madams haven't. They need to nurse the children." "What sauce are you using?" After the waiter left, the head butler of the Zhang family came in with a tray with a large bowl of sauce and 3 small cans. He put them on the table and said, "The little master deliberately made this sauce before he left and froze it. He said that if you eat the mandarin duck pot or hot pot at this time of the year, this sauce will definitely not be heaty. If you feel that the sauce is not fresh enough, don't add oyster sauce. It's too salty. There are canned caviar." Li Longji chuckled, "You actually dare to hide it." "Fortunately, my beloved concubine asked. If the strong men were here, I don't believe that they wouldn't take the initiative to take it out. You can leave. I won't reward you even if you stand here for a day. Your Majesty, Empress, and Your Highness, please enjoy." The butler bowed and left. It's not easy to eat hot food outside. Li Longji and Empress Wang put the cold dishes on the table and sighed. The reason why the head butler of the Zhang family came just now was because of the sauce. Previously, everything in the house had been checked. There were also people watching the kitchen in case something went wrong. Empress Wang took the wine from Wu Huifei and poured it for Li Longji first. She said, "Why don't we call the strong men here? He's busy with the construction of the palace. It's very tiring for him. Forget it. If he comes, he'll have to serve us. He has others to serve him in the palace. Let him rest. Today, it's just our family eating." As soon as Li Longji finished speaking, he raised his head and drank half a cup of wine. The three of them ate a few mouthfuls of food. With food in their stomachs, they began to chat. "I still feel that it's messy to transfer troops from all over the country. I can't guess what they want to do." Wu Huifei still didn't forget about the previous matter. Li Longji didn't have any intention of answering. He peeled the boiled edamame that shouldn't be there in this season and swept his eyes across the various dishes to choose. Empress Wang only cared about etiquette in front of others. Now that there were no outsiders, she chewed the mutton in her mouth and said in a muffled voice, "Sister, don't worry. They definitely won't go to Xinlua or Japan. Xinlua doesn't have any fighting power, and Japan is even more useless. I think they want the Tang Empire to train their troops, especially the navy. They might be of use in the future. For example, they can patrol along the shore and help protect the merchants of our dynasty. As long as they are within the range of the cannons, they will be safe. When the time comes, hundreds of gunships will be deployed and rush out, together with the troop carriers." Empress Wang paused. Li Longji also stopped peeling the edamame. Wu Huifei looked around and hurriedly drank a mouthful of wine. She said loudly to Empress Wang, "Sister, why don't we go to the Research Institute of the Ministry of Works later? I remember that Xiao Bao said that other than movies, there are also cameras, the kind that take pictures of people. It's as if it's real." Yes, we have to go. We have to go. Where's His Majesty?" Empress Wang also said loudly. "Let's go together. Throw 2 prawns in. They're not fresh prawns." Li Longji also drank a mouthful of wine. Empress Wang helped to put the prawns in the pot and said, "They are prawns from last year. They are specially frozen. There are seeds and drunken crabs in them. They are slightly yellow." "Good, it's good that there are seeds. It seems that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo can grow vegetables that are out of season, but they can't grow prawns and crabs that are out of season." Li Longji waited for the prawns to slowly turn red. "In my opinion, they find it troublesome and don't have the time to care. They can already grow fungus and ginseng. They are quite capable," Wu Huifei said as she put down her chopsticks. Li Longji picked up a cooked prawn. As he peeled the shell, he lowered his voice and said, "Of course they are capable. They even dared to hide it from me. I was wondering why they were so carefree. It was as if they were traveling. Instead of actively preparing for war, they went to visit relatives. If Duosher can defend, I dare to give them the technology of the cannon." Chapter 1197. Eat fish, eat fish. Lunch was later than usual. The old men who had been eating more than usual were hungry. As soon as they sat down, Baigo couldn't wait to pick up his chopsticks and eat the meat in the pot. Zhang Xiaobao's main dish was also hot pot, fish head pot, but there was a lot of fish in it. The 2 old men ate the meat. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan each scooped a bowl of fish soup and ate with steamed buns. They didn't seem to have much of an appetite. If it weren't for their normal expressions, people would think that they had something on their minds. After a few mouthfuls of meat, Bai Go felt better. He smiled at Zhang Xiaobao and praised, "It's delicious." When it comes to fish, Xiaobao's cooking is more authentic. "Let's continue to eat fish tonight. Let's eat fried fish, salted fish, and some cornmeal pancakes." "Okay, I'll make salted fish, cornmeal pancakes, and wild vegetable egg soup tonight." Zhang Xiaobao nodded. Since the old men were here, he had to serve them well. Even if she was stopped by an old man she didn't know on the street and asked her to cook something for him, she would still cook for him, let alone someone she had known for many years. Yao Chong didn't say anything, but his chopsticks kept moving. He tasted every dish and chose the one that he liked the most. As Bai Go ate, he finally realized that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were different from before. The two of them kept exchanging glances while eating. Although he didn't know what they were talking about, it must be something difficult. After eating a few more mouthfuls, Bai Go stopped and looked at Zhang Xiaobao and Yao Chong. When the two of them looked back, he said, "Xiaobao, it's normal for the two of you to be busy, but there's no end to it. When you need to rest, rest. When it's time to eat, eat. If there's any trouble, tell us and we can solve it together. The whole country is behind you. Grandpa Bai, you're right. We have a small problem. We can't solve it in a year because we've taken too much manpower and resources. As time goes by, other countries may have other ideas. We're considering whether to put pressure on them or appease them with resources. Against Duosher, we want to fight, grind, attack the heart, and seize it. For years. Zhang Xiaobao did not keep it a secret from the two old men and told them the steps of the strategy. Yao Chong also put down his chopsticks and looked at Bai Go, waiting for the two to explain how they were going to play these 4 years. Wang Wan explained, "Fighting is to be ruthless at the start of the war, before the food harvest. At that time, they are most lacking in food and have no choice but to provide support to the front line. We'll fight until next summer and then retreat to the places we can occupy this winter to shorten the supply line." The two old men nodded at first, but then they both fretted. "Cuckoo, you don't want to advance quickly. Instead, you want to advance on all fronts. Fighting a battle of annihilation instead of attacking a route or penetrating deep into the enemy's rear. It will consume a lot of resources. Why don't we use our weapon advantage to attack the enemy's core city and capture their leader?" Bai Go believed that it would be best for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to launch the lightning battle mentioned in the textbooks, exchanging time for space. Now it seemed that the two wanted to slowly advance all fronts, giving the enemy time to gather their troops and play positional warfare. If someone else said this with a sharp weapon, he would have already cursed. Now that it was from Cuckoo, he needed to think carefully. Cuckoo had written many military textbooks, specializing in distinguishing all kinds of war situations. Strategic and tactical, everything. He believed that she would not make the wrong judgment and decision. Yao Chang's gaze fell on Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's faces. He reached out a hand and touched a steamed bun, bringing it to his mouth without blinking. They are a religious country. Their land area is large and their faith is firm. It's easy to destroy their upper power structure. We don't even need to send too many planes. Find a place with low mountains, take a detour, and send hot air balloon troops to fight special forces. Wang Wan explained, full of confidence. This was the confidence of having the ability to transport troops in the air. Especially for the first use, it was guaranteed to succeed. Zhang Xiaobao continued, but, we can't. This is the characteristic of a religious country. It's not a problem for some people to die. Soon, there will be leaders in various places. At that time, their resistance will be very tenacious. In order to get more follower support, they will make the decision to stop the Tang Empire's army. There is another possibility. They are all independent, and we can destroy them one by one. We don't dare to gamble, and there is no need to gamble. With the Tang Empire's army, which country can't we bully now? We mainly want to pay less and get higher returns. Wang Wan finished eating the steamed bun and signaled to Zhang Xiaobao, who had just drunk 2 mouthfuls of soup, to continue. Zhang Xiaobao quickly swallowed the soup. War is not the goal. The goal is to get something. My idea is the simplest. I have to make a lot of money in a war. It's not worth it without me. It's hard to get proportional to the cost. Destroy their will and make it easier for me to plunder. After saying this, Zhang Xiaobao also ate in big mouthfuls of food, giving the 2 old men time to think. The situation at the table changed. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan ate happily, but the 2 old men began to frown. They looked at each other and thought hard, analyzing Zhang Xiaobao's character. At the same time, they thought that Zhang Xiaobao's support for war was not for long-term benefits. Perhaps he had such a plan, but he would not give up short-term benefits. What he needed was to take advantage of the situation while fighting. After the war, he would first recover the cost of starting the war. When the dust settled, he was guaranteed to make a lot of money. Otherwise, with his talent, it would be better to use it to improve the lives of the people in the country. Good, slowly push. I agree. Bai Su spoke first. Fighting for a year is pushing for a year. What is the purpose of grinding? Grinding is to take a big step back and carry out low-intensity small group battles. Our army can take this opportunity to rotate and recuperate. At the same time, we can continue to train our soldiers. We can take small victories to big victories and eat away at tactics. The young generals can follow along and learn. The people will unite for the honor and dignity of the great Tang and work hard. Seeing that Wang Wan was still eating, Zhang Xiaobao could only say it himself. When he talked about the people working hard, he deliberately emphasized it. The 2 old men nodded in agreement. They understood this. As long as the front lines were not defeated, the people at the back would be very happy and work hard. The propaganda would be that the mighty army of the great Tang was all thanks to your support in the rear, and there would be no more conflicts. They would even say that it didn't matter if the betrothal gifts were a little smaller. As long as the great Tang army had a common goal, they could get married. Yao Chong finally spoke. 2 years is too long for the people of Duo who are always unable to drive the enemy out of their country and achieve victory. At that time, you can use other methods to shake the belief of the people in your religion and achieve the final victory in one fell swoop. Xiao Bao must be using economic methods, Bai Su said with certainty. Zhang Xiaobao nodded. Yes, I plan to use shrapnel and bullets to exchange for food. After a year of fighting, they will not have enough food. When we retreat, the shrapnel and bullets will be left at the front. I will use food to exchange with their people. If they can find good ores, I am even willing to use canned food to exchange. What a vicious plan. Bai Su shivered. He had already thought of the result. In order not to starve to death or eat canned food, the local people would definitely collect shrapnel and mine ores to exchange for food. But these things would be made into weapons that would take the lives of their soldiers. Would the ruling class stop them or condone them? Stopping them would intensify the internal conflict. Condoning them would chill the hearts of the frontline soldiers. At that time, the soldiers' food would come from the hands of the people. The people would use things to exchange. If the soldiers stopped, the people would not give the soldiers food. The soldiers would steal the food of the people. This was a dead end. Xiao Bao is also planning to pile up the enemy's corpses and start a plague battle. Then, he will use medicine to exchange for food. Wang Wan was already full and added. The two old men's teeth were numb and sour. It was obvious that they did not have enough blood. This plan goes against the heavens, Yao Chong said as he rubbed his face with his hands. Whose heavens? Our Tang Empire is at the right time, right place, and right people. Isn't it just a biological war? Zhang Xiaobao said indifferently. Then, he muttered in a voice that only Wang Wan could hear, poison gas bombs, bacterial bombs, napalm bombs, depleted uranium bombs, dum-dum bombs, cluster bombs, non-metal mines, and atomic bombs. Who doesn't use them? Wang Wan did not say anything. She knew that Zhang Xiaobao was just casually saying that. Even if others did not use them, he would use them if he could. Don't expect to use morality, humanity, or righteousness to restrain him. He did not care. Of course, he did not care either. Do we have any advanced weapons? We can scare them while we are at it. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan thought about it together. After exchanging glances, Zhang Xiaobao said, yes, cover the outside of the diesel engine with metal sheets, and put the thing under the house that Xiao Bei and the others used when they first came here. We call it a track. I'll ask the Ministry of Works to make a few more and send them to Duosher to test the water. What exactly is that thing? What about the gunships and the soldiers of Hebei province? Bai Shu still had a lot of doubts. Zhang Xiaobao still shrugged and spread his hands. Not to mention Hebei province, the original soldiers of Hunan province, Deng province, and Lai province are also gone. The naval forces of Huainan province and Jiangnan province are also gone. Only the naval forces of Jiangxi province are left to guard the capital. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.